Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Beer Blather 292. Degenerates being degenerates. There are degenerates in this world. Too many, really. They come in different flavors. There are retarded degenerates, you know, the kind that like play acting, being abducted in a land where dozens of women spend up to 2 years of real abduction, being raped, tortured, and starved. Nobody cut off her Achilles tendon so that she could not escape. Nobody raped her. God forbid anybody would want to. But she had to take a shower. The fiends. They're evil degenerates. The kind that take a picture, smiling with terrorist loving asshats, with a terrorist flag on the very day their friends massacre yet more Jews on a holiday while supposedly being the Vicar of Jesus of Palestine. Or was it Judea? Free, free Nazareth! There are duplicitous degenerates who throw stones and hide their hands. Like Democrats forcing a budget crisis, it is not really a shutdown if the government is still functioning, and pretend that they were fishing that day. There are murderous degenerates who would rather die than stop murdering Jews, their own families, and neighbors, while calling themselves liberators. There are meretricious degenerates that would let a would-be assassin targeting a Supreme Court justice while celebrating his crime in the name of, you won't believe this, transgenderism. There are, in short, a variegated selection of degenerates to satisfy every vice, every misdeed, every low instinct, every misery in this world. And then there is the rest of us, sick and tired of having to live with these degenerates and put up with their twisted debauchery in the name of a debased version of tolerance that is, in itself, unadulterated degeneracy. Time to right the ship and rid our civilization of this pus infecting it. This is Sol Montes Bradley, the largest human repository of useless information from my perch in Florida. And this guy over here is Thomas Victor, the only living expert in World War One flamethrowers and so many other stuff that I better let him tell you about it. Good evening, Thomas. How are things in Mexifornia?
The usual. It's life is much better without the illegals overrunning the city. But I saw today that DHS and ICE drew first blood in Chicago. They had to shoot a woman who was trying to shoot them, and she drove herself to the hospital. And we'll see what happens here. My guess is she's going to get charged by the feds with terrorism and is going to be looking at 25, 30 years maybe.
Yeah, I'm very disappointed that she was able to drive herself after the fact.
Well, this is just the beginning. I guess Pritzker finally admitted that he can't stop the federal forces. The National Guard is coming in. Trump's going to send National Guard wherever there's trouble. And that's going to be the end of that because, I don't know if you've seen the videos. Did you see the video of the skinny Uber bitch harassing the ICE, and they finally just pepper sprayed her right in the face. And first she started walking away like a zombie, and then she started screaming, "I can't see, I can't breathe, I can't hear." And as an Antifa medic was doing stuff with her eyes, he was standing behind her and she had her head back. He slowly slid his hand down her chest until he was cupping her boob,
Oh,
So,
he copped a squeeze.
yep. So that's the quality of people Antifa is.
Yeah.
Um,
Well,
I
they deserve each other, frankly.
well, I did a frame by frame, and her eyes were wide open when the spray hit, and there was a dude next to her wearing his little secret agent balaclava, and he had a loudspeaker that he was using to communicate with the DHS agent standing right in front of him, and his eyes were open too. I mean, they hit him like that. So the two of them were nailed really, really good. And if you've seen it, basically DHS and ICE use bear spray. They have those huge containers with the big handle.
Yep.
So they were screwed. And boy, they cried like little babies, little babies. And the comments were universal. They were. This is probably the first time she's ever faced any kind of repercussions, and probably the first time she's ever been told no.
Yeah.
And she didn't like it.
Certainly, in the last 10 years, I haven't seen anybody in Portland tell anybody to stop.
No, I mean, they're marching, yelling, "We demand to live in our own crap. We demand to live in our own vomit." And I don't know who the mayor is. It used to be somebody named Ted. Is he still mayor?
Still is.
Yeah. Okay.
And he's even more moronic than 5 years ago.
Yeah. I mean, he presided over BLM burning down parts of Portland.
Yep.
And putting all the black businesses, kicking them all to the curb. And now he's trying to pretend that he has some kind of power over the federal government. And of course,
same as Pritzker and Gruesome.
Yeah.
One of these things. Oh, and the one I heard today from that Kinzinger, that, remember that idiot?
Adam Kinzinger, yeah.
Yeah, he was complaining that the courts have to order the House of Representatives to swear in the little flusy that inherited a seat in Arizona from her father. The courts cannot order the House on anything related to how the House handles its members. Now, this guy was a representative. He pretends to know. He's defending the Constitution, and he doesn't know that the House is sovereign.
Well, see, leftists have no factual knowledge on any subject. We were told that Barney Frank was one of the most exceptional financial geniuses in the country who knew how everything worked. And right after he said that the Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac were solvent and everything was fine, we had that collapse. So there are no Democratic experts. There are Republican experts.
You're not talking about Barney Franks, do you?
Yeah, Barney Franks.
Yeah, that use good for nothing asshole.
Yeah.
He was only good to take money under the table from Countrywide.
Yeah. No, I mean, there are no Democratic experts. That's why Kitzinger doesn't know anything about the government.
Yeah, he was a Republican representative.
Yeah, I remember.
How the fuck did that happen?
Well, but he's, for all intents and purposes, a Democrat. I don't know. I just, it's a weird era, but it's a good era because the Democrats are in complete, they're a shambles, and everything they're doing is backfiring. the shutdown is backfiring. It's everything they're doing is a screw up, and they don't know what to do to come out of that death spiral. All they can do is more of the same, and they'll do more of the same. There's maybe 30, 40, 50 at max Antifa showing up to fight ICE. It's not 2020 all over again. Nobody's burning down cities. And the quality of the Antifa, they're all fat women. I saw some guy, the ICE rolled a tear gas canister in, and he picked it up and threw it back, and then he tried to run away, and he was taking little shuffling baby steps.
Oh boy.
You've seen how fast these ICE agents move. You've seen them run 2 city blocks without stopping, and this guy's going, and they dogpile on him. And it's really, I saw one. It was brilliant. It was a 2-for-1. It was a one screaming woman standing, and next to her, a guy was going after an ICE agent, and he grabbed him by the arm and swung him into the woman, and their heads clonked together, and they both went down, and she's holding her head going, "What just happened?" It's like, well, you learned a lesson. That's what just happened.
Yep. I don't think she got a good grade. We need to do it again to give her a chance.
Yeah, there are very few people who, on the left, who can actually learn. I've said this before. After Charlie Kirk's assassination, after his murder, all the Democrats who came out and said, "I'm no longer a Democrat, and it's not that I'm not anything, I'm a Republican now," they were all physically attractive. And all the people celebrating Charlie Kirk's murder were physically repulsive.
Yep. But by the way, the fact that those were physically attractive makes me doubt that they were ever Democrats.
They were, but
there are no pretty Democrat women. I'm sorry, they all look like they just came out of a nightmare on Friday.
One of them had the rainbow colored hair and a nose piercing, and now she's going to be a Republican, and she could walk into any Trump rally all over the world and be accepted regardless of her hair color and her nose piercing.
Oh, she will be, but she ain't pretty.
Well, her facial features were pretty.
Okay.
And there's a lot of people who don't even know why they're Democrats. I just watched a movie last night with the actress Jenna Ortega, and she's going to Harvard, and she's raised by 2 lawyers, and they've micromanaged her life all the way up to her entry into Harvard, and she's got a free summer, and she meets a guy who's taking a year off between graduation from high school and the next step, and they end up hanging out and falling in love, and then she decides that he's going to ruin her. She's somebody who needs this direction, and so she breaks up with him and goes off to Harvard. And in Harvard, okay, it's Halloween, and her roommate is going to dress up as Ruth Bader Ginsburg, and she tells Jenna that she needs to dress up as Sotomayor. And the parents, the father is the parents are both Hispanic, but this is the most leftist movie I've ever seen in my life. And what they didn't know is how they were coming across. The parents were utterly disgusting, and they had whoever these actors were, either they were being incredibly subtle and they were closet conservatives, or they were doing what they thought a loving parent would do. But there was no relationship between the parents and the daughter. And when she was movies written by leftists, I don't know if you've noticed this, like Friends and Couples, they're just trading one-liners. They're just
there are no dialogues in these movies.
no. It's are you a stalker? No, I'm not stalking you. Okay, you're stalker adjacent. And it's supposed to be witty and all of that, but it's so fucking annoying because it's not how real people communicate. Maybe young leftists do that. I don't think they would be. I mean, these people they've memorized a script that was written. The movie was directed by a woman, and the screenplay was written by a woman. Everybody was leftist. The movie was dripping with leftism.
With feminazism.
Well, it was just it was hell on earth. She was living in hell, and he ended up becoming. He was going to join the music industry, so he was like the assistant to a band manager, and so he helped this band, and they were a soulful leftist band, and it was a female lead with an acoustic guitar, and the music they were performing was garbage. It was soulful and introspective and wordy, and it was just garbage. I couldn't. If you held a gun to my head right now and said, "Sing that song for me," they sang it twice in the movie. It went one ear and out the other, and he's supposed to be this brilliant music historian, and he's telling this vapid woman how great her music is, and it's great for leftists. But man, that was an amazing film. It was literally the most leftist movie I've ever seen. It was made in 2025. They didn't mention Trump, but Jenna Ortega was going to be a lawyer, and then she was going to become like a lawyer for poor people and do pro bono work.
What a noble thing.
Exactly.
To do.
And at one point, she was telling him he couldn't take his lag ear or whatever the fuck it's called, and he should plant trees or save the sea turtles and it was just like, holy shit. Like talk about living in a world that has nothing to do with anything like any genuine emotion. It was all activism and these two revolting parents just being like cartoon leftist weirdos who were trying to be her friends while they were ordering her around like totalitarian dictators. I mean, it was just amazing. On Netflix, got 5 stars, so everybody loved it. I guess all the conservatives have canceled Netflix, and
I'm afraid I'm one of those.
Yeah. No, I'm going to stick with it because I like the Korean series, but I mean, I don't watch cartoons. I don't have kids, so yeah.
You have a problem. You get your Korean fix. I don't, because I can't stand them anymore, and I'm having trouble with Prime too.
Mm.
But the problem is that I really don't have a problem with Prime. I have a problem with the content.
Yeah.
I just watched a series called Eureka.
Mm.
Oh my God. It makes Disney look like the British Museum.
Is that the
Eh,
one
Or,
where is
yeah.
that the one where all the scientists live in some little town?
Yes. All of them saving the planet.
Hmm.
And by the way, the scientific lexicon is gibberish of the word count. It's something that I wouldn't expect from a fourth grader. And they
Mhm.
do have a science advisor. Who the
Mhm.
fuck was the science advisor?
The
Greta
left.
Thunberg?
Yeah, yeah.
You know, is it at least make it believable for crying out loud? Don't throw words haphazardly. It, and but the thing too is everything has to do with feminism, uh,
Hmm.
global warming, environmentalism. Science is bad, and it needs to be reined in because scientists left to themselves are going to destroy the world. You know that's the underlying message of this whole shit.
Yeah, well, see, Democrats, leftists realized they couldn't call themselves the party of science anymore because they denied the biological origin of genders. So, you know, um, now they're trying to go back to some weird ass dark age era where they're going to be casting bones and you know talking to shaman and
Yeah, and reading the entrails of chickens.
yeah, yeah.
You know, haruspication. But the thing is, by the way, that could have been the word for the day. Yeah, we'll find something else. It, the party of science. When the fuck were they the party of science when they told people that if they don't get vaccinated they will die?
Well, when they said there was an ice age coming, and then they said there was drought coming, and then there was the next all future wars will be fought over fresh water because we're running out of fresh water somehow.
Right. And
No,
and
I mean,
and by the way, and every year we're gonna have more and bigger storms. You know, move away from the shore because it's gonna get worse. We're
you
gonna
know,
have more storms and they're gonna be bigger. You know, this past September was the first month of September in recorded history. There were no hurricanes hitting the continental U.S.
yeah. Every time Trump is president, there are no hurricanes. So
Yeah, he scares
um,
them away. The hurricanes are leftist Europeans. So when Trump is president, they say, "To fuck with him and run away and go to
well,
Barbados or something."
he
But
threatens
by the
to.
way,
Uh,
La Nina is coming, so this will revert next year. Before
mm,
somebody says, "You told me they stopped." No, they don't stop. They follow patterns that humanity barely understands.
well, I mean, we had an ice age in what? Was it the medieval period or was it later?
In the medieval period, we had an ice age from about 800, from about 1200 to 1700, literally.
Yeah,
The Little Ice Age,
yeah.
which in the US had amazing effects that most people today wouldn't recognize, like the Hudson River frozen solid from New York Bay all the way to Canada, or the Delaware frozen solid from the Chesapeake all the way to Canada. So it, they used them as highways.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, we had a period in this country where it was populated by what are called megafauna, gigantic furry animals, and there were Cro-Magnons who would occasionally take one. They all died out.
Yeah,
Why? Why? Because of climate change. Climate change. The Cro-Magnons made campfires. That wasn't enough to change the climate. Climate changed on its own, and all the megafauna died. So Mother Nature is merciless when it comes to making things extinct. Um, the it's really bizarre. If you Like Mother Nature has wiped out over 99% of all species that ever existed. So,
In
you
the
know,
time it took you to say this, a few species we didn't even know existed disappeared.
yeah. And we keep discovering new species that are thriving. So, you know, I don't know. I just,
I wonder if we can tinker with nature to cause the disappearance of the Democrats as a species.
well, in my 63 years, leftists have warned me about catastrophic, unavoidable disasters coming that never actually happened. And it's too many times for me to even count. And my approach now is any warning I get, I don't believe. I have to see it to believe it. And you know,
You know what I think it is. Remember in the 70s when Hollywood came up with a gazillion catastrophe movies,
hmm,
big tsunamis, tornadoes, earthquakes, meteors hitting the earth,
earthquake.
everything, earthquakes, and I think that some of these idiots saw those movies in their infancy and believe that that's how it works and it will happen.
Well, we're talking
And
about
I'm,
uh huh.
yeah, and I'm going through life scared of a freaking phantasm.
Yeah. We're talking about degeneracy. One of the greatest acts of degeneracy is the destruction of history. Um, you hear people say all the time that all empires fail and that the United States is going to fail. Well, the U.S. is like the Roman Empire. That's the movie that Francis Ford Coppola put $120 million into his own money into making and marketing Megalopolis, and he lost it all.
Oh yeah,
It was a shit movie, and we're not the Roman Empire. We're not. The Roman Empire went out and conquered multiple countries, or sorry, regions by force, and
yes.
they rose up. They rose up, and they came and they sacked Rome. Nothing like that is going to happen to this country. We're unique in history. We're not. Every time our epitaph is written, we show that we're not going to conform to that epitaph. So we have historians all the time writing books. It's the end of everything. Who was it? Some jackass. Some jackass said that all these celebrities have moved into Europe because they're trying to get away from totalitarianism in the U.S.
Yeah, right. And they go to uh, 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 digital ID England
Yep.
or social media censorship Germany.
Yeah. Or how about Norway, where it's illegal to speak to your child in anything other than a conversational level of voice, and if you ever shout at your child, you can go to jail. It's illegal to homeschool your child. Your children can be permanently removed from your custody if you homeschool them. So go to Norway to get free from totalitarianism.
I mean, these people are really fucking crazy, aren't they?
Well, they're idiots. They're idiots. They should keep their yaps shut. I don't know. I just the mind boggles, and this is why we have the stuff that's happening today, where ICE is getting rid of child rapists, and the left is coming out and protesting against it.
Well, why not? They all like the little nubile girl anyway.
Apparently, if you cornered these people and you tied them to a chair and you ordered them on pain of electrocution with a car battery to explain their belief systems and why they believe. Okay, Steven Crowder has gone back to his Change My Mind tours at colleges, and now he has 40, 50 security guards, and he wears a body armor. And so I saw him. He was speaking to a young woman. They were both very calm. She said that communist China is conservative and right wing. And she said that the definition of, or the reason she said leftists can't be totalitarian.
You mean Stalin wasn't a totalitarian?
Yeah, he was a right-wing conservative. By definition, all dictatorships are right-wing because they try to control the individual. Got that? Dictators are trying to control the individual in the name of conservatism. So this is a brainless moron.
This comes from the mouth of the collectivist?
Well, see, she said that leftists are all about individual rights and liberty. So this is an idiot. This is an idiot who has not only been brainwashed, they cut off the top of her head, they scooped her brain out, they filled her skull with oatmeal, and then they put the skull back on. I mean, and he was very respectful. But he was impeaching her. He was getting her to repeat what she said. And she had no idea what a moron she was. She had no idea whatsoever. He could not get, I watched two women. He could not get them to admit initially that the murder of Charlie Kirk was political violence.
No. Who could ever possibly think that?
Yeah.
It was a rejected lover.
Well, even though the murderer admitted that he did it for political reasons, they didn't.
Right, and wrote up yours, fascist, and a bunch of other lovely messages on the bullets, because they had nothing to do with it. He was actually taking notes for a school paper.
There are now hundreds of Charlie Kirks doing Change My Mind speaking tours on colleges.
By the way, I've seen a bunch of them. Some of them pretty well trained in these matters, but they're no Charlie Kirk. Charlie had a freshness to him that these people cannot even approach.
Give him time.
Maybe 2 years from now, I'd say, wow, these guys have really developed. But right now, the ones I've seen, it's like, oh, God, can you please take the stick out of your ass?
Well, okay, what Crowder didn't say, nobody's ever said this. The communists are a collectivist ideology. Fascism is a collectivist ideology. By definition, they're leftist. Conservatism is about individualism, and it's about.
Is it true liberalism?
It's about refusing to be part of a giant collective, and also reducing the size and power of the government. That's all you have to say. And if they tell you that communist China is right-wing and conservative, then you say, but they're communists, and so by definition, they are leftists. They are collectivists.
I don't think Mao would object to your characterization.
Yeah.
But probably Tim Walz, that freaking imbecile, would.
The two women I saw were beyond moronic. They were flopping fish that had had their brains sucked out. They had no idea what they were talking about. Crowder was being very gentle, very polite. And maybe they were being polite because he was surrounded by gigantic men, who all were alarmed. And it's too bad that it's come to this, but even Charlie Kirk knew that he would have to start wearing a vest and performing behind bulletproof plexiglass. He just didn't want to do it because he gave see, this is the thing. Even the Israelis are going to accept Trump's peace plan. Fine. Hamas has already said that they're going to be part of the post-war government. So the Israelis should say, then we're not going to do anything until Hamas agrees to not be a part of the government.
Before we go any further, I have something for you as to what Hamas says.
Mm-hmm.
Let's take a look at what Hamas says. You will recognize this asshole. He's the one who replaced Yahya Sinwar, and he's been on TV for the past 2 years promoting the war, justifying October 7th, of course. He was the second in command, and now he's the guy in charge. What does he have to say about this thing? And we can watch it once, and if you want, we'll go then step by step or not, depending on how we feel.
Is he the one with the bruise on his forehead?
Yes, that asshole.
تتوقعون ردا إيجابيا بقبول مبدأ التفاوض على التفاصيل غير الواضحة في هذه الخطة؟
لا يمكن تطبيقها بدون تفاوض. يعني أنا بضرب لك مثال على سبيل المثال. هناك مذكور قوات أممية تدخل إلى قطاع غزة. طب أي من الدول ستشارك في هذه القوات؟ ومن سيقرر في هذه القوة؟ أليس مجلس الأمن على سبيل المثال؟ من هي هذه الدول؟ وما هي الموازنات التي ستوضع من الدول؟ ومن هو المسؤول عن الموازنات في هذه الدول؟ وما هي صلاحيات قوات الحفظ السلام؟ وما هو الحدود الحد الجغرافي الذي ستعمل في إطاره؟ وهل ستكون قوات حفظ السلام موجودة على الحدود ما بين مصر وقطاع غزة أم بين قطاع غزة وإسرائيل؟ أسئلة كثيرة جدا بيحتاج إلى تفصيلات طويلة. فلا يمكن على الإطلاق مجرد أنك تقول إنه أنا بدي أدخل قوات أممية على في هذا الاتفاق إنه أنا حليت مشكلة زي ما بيقول الرئيس ترامب عمره 3000 سنة يعني.
طيب في هناك نقطة، فإذا يعني أنت تحدثت الآن عن مثال ربما له علاقة بمستقبل القضية الفلسطينية أو مستقبل الوضع عموما في قطاع غزة، لكن سؤالي يتعلق بالنقاط التسع التي وافقت عليها حركة حماس من حيث المبدأ، إذا صح التعبير، توافق على مضمونها لكن تحتاج إلى تفاصيل.
نحن وافقنا على عناوينها كلها بالمعنى الذي ذكره الرئيس ترامب، ولكن هناك تفصيلات في كل قضية من القضايا لابد من الحديث حولها.
نعم، هذا ما سألتك عنه. ما هي أبرز هذه النقاط التي تعني الحركة وتحتاج إلى توضيحات وتفصيلات؟
كل قضية كما قلت، يعني أقول لك أول بند في إنه الحركة إنه قطاع غزة خالي من الإرهاب. احنا موافقين إنه خالي من الإرهاب. طيب حركة حماس هل هي حركة إرهابية ولا لا؟ حركة حماس حركة تحرر وطني وليست حركة إرهابية. إسرائيل تعتبرها حركة إرهابية والولايات المتحدة، لكنه لا أحد يعتبرها حركة إرهابية غيرهما، وبعض الدول الأوروبية التابعة للسياسة الأمريكية وضعتها على قائمة الإرهاب، لكنها ليست حركة إرهابية، وبالتالي لا ينطبق هذا البند أصلا على حركة الإرهاب. ونحن نختلف في هذا الموضوع. حركة حماس حركة تحرر وطني تسعى للانعتاق من الاحتلال، وانتفضت في وجه الحصار وانتفضت في وجه الاستيطان وفي وجه تعذيب الأسرى. من أجل ذلك كانت كل معاركها من أجل التحرر، وليس من أجل أن ترهب أحد بصورة أو أخرى. ولا تريد أن تطبق السياسة من خلال الإرهاب، هي تريد أن تعتق شعبنا الفلسطيني من ربقة الاحتلال. ومن مثلا هذا في البند الأول على سبيل المثال نحن نتكلم عن تعريف، وهذا التعريف لا ينطبق على الحركة، ويحتاج إلى إعادة إسقاط لهذا التعريف على قوة أخرى لا تنطبق على حركة حماس على الإطلاق.
نعم دكتور موسى أبو مرزوق، يعني لنفصل قليلا فيما ذكرت، أشرت إلى أن النقاط
Doctor, mind you,
التسعة التي تعني حركة حماس تعاملت معها حركة حماس بإيجابية كبيرة، وهناك تفاصيل تفرضها الظروف الميدانية تحتاج إلى تفاوض، هذا صحيح؟
نعم.
طيب، فيما يتعلق بالنقاط التي لها علاقة بمستقبل حماس ونزع سلاح حماس.
watch this, Thomas. It gets very interesting on this armament.
ومستقبل قادة حماس، كيف أو ماذا تقول الحركة في هذه النقاط؟
بنفس الشيء، نحن سندخل في تفاوض متعلق بكل القضايا ذات الصلة في هذا البرنامج. وإسرائيل نفسها أعلنت بأنها دمرت 90% من مقدرات حماس، فعن أي سلاح تريد أن تنزعه أصلا؟ هي تتكلم بقضايا لا يعني، أو الورقة تتكلم بقضايا وهي لا تعرف مكنونها. القضية الثانية أنه نفسه الرئيس ترامب بيقول أنه قتل 25,000 من مقاتلي حماس. طب إذا قتل 25,000، طب ما يبقى أين المقاتلين الذين يعني يتحدث عن مدام قتلهم؟ يعني عن ماذا يتكلم عنه؟ هناك تفصيلات لا يمكن على الإطلاق أن يتحدث فيها. ثم إنه الحركة نفسها أبدت استعدادها في اليوم الذي تتكون فيه الدولة الفلسطينية ذات السيادة، الدولة الفلسطينية التي الحركة يمكن أن تكون حركة مسلحة وستسلم سلاحها لهذه الدولة. يعني احنا عندنا مواقف وأعلناها منذ فترة، لكن لا يريد أن يسمعوا هذه المواقف. وبالتالي هذا الموضوع أصلا ليس فيه إشكالية على الإطلاق تعوق وقف الحرب بأي صورة من الصور. والآن كل الصور التي تأتيها صور دفاع عن النفس كما يشاهدها الجميع في عمليات القتل المباشر في كل هذه المسائل.
Okay, so they're not going to accept it, and Israel will go in and kill them all.
It doesn't look like an acceptance, does it?
No.
Oh,
I mean,
yes. You know, you say that the weapons will go to the new Palestinian state without Hamas or any other terrorist organization, but we're not a terrorist organization. We're a liberation movement, and we will be the government of Palestine, and the weapons will come to us.
yeah, we'll give our weapons to
What
ourselves.
fucking planet is this degenerate living?
Well, the Israelis have already said that Gaza is not going to be self-governing. It's going to be basically under Israel's control. And
did you see all the gibberish about the UN?
yeah.
No, there won't be any UN troops from any country, you stupid asshole, because we don't trust those fuckers anyway.
I mean, the UN was complicit with Hamas under UNRWA.
Yeah.
They were helping Hamas because they hired only Hamas workers. And also the UN hates Jewish people, so they hate Israel. So the Israelis are going through the motions. Trump's going through the motions, and Hamas will bring all this shit up, and in other words, they still have to die, and that's fine.
Maybe we should bring in the same UN troops they had in Congo, and they will rape this guy's family and himself.
Yeah.
So anyway, where the hell did he get the UN peacekeeping forces in his delirium induced by drugs. There is no other place where that could have come from.
No, there's no. Israel has said they're going to control the security of Gaza.
They're going to control the security. He says that Israel has to withdraw from the Gaza-Egypt border. There is not a fucking chance. And in the plan, it states several things. First, that eventually Israel will limit his actual physical control, the army, to a band all around the Gaza borders, and will control the Adelphi corridor and the Gaza-Egypt border. That is not under discussion.
No.
He thinks that an ultimatum is the beginning of a negotiation.
Well, also, he thinks he's in a position to give ultimatums. I mean,
he's not in a position to ask for negotiations even.
No, he's going to be the next guy who eats a missile at some point, and
Yeah. There is a missile with his name on it, and the thing is that if I go by this, no, they're not going to comply, and Israel will eradicate them all from the face of the earth.
Yeah.
And if they run to other countries, Israel will chase them.
Mm-hmm.
Not everybody, not the grunts, but certainly the officers. And they will be one with the cosmos one way or another. And that's the end of it. And I understand that Trump was given assurances by Egypt, Qatar, and company that don't pay attention to what these fuckers are saying. They're going to deliver the hostages, and they're going to lay down their arms, and we're going to make sure that they get it. And that's when Trump came out with celebrating peace. That may jolly well happen.
Yeah, maybe this idiot is just trying to save face. Maybe they're going to go into the negotiation rooms and all kneel down and clasp their hands.
Ass.
Please.
And kiss ass.
Yeah.
So, one way or another, we're going to find out tomorrow, 6 p.m.
Mm-hmm.
In the meantime, Israel has continued its operations. Only yesterday, they found another tunnel. Gaza is a fucking Swiss cheese.
Mm-hmm.
They found another tunnel over a mile long, but they still have not mapped the entirety of it.
Mm-hmm.
That connected the Jordan hospital with a bunch of other locations, and that they were being used to store rockets and all that jazz, yet again using a hospital as a military installation. They killed about 40 assholes in and around those tunnels, and they will keep doing it.
Mm-hmm.
They think they can hide. There is no place to hide. In Han Yunis, a local tribe took over the local Hamas battalion and killed 40 of them bitches for control of the aid, control of the food. Now we have a local tribe. Remember how many times we discussed that these places were essentially tribal societies? There are 8 clans in Gaza. There are more in Judea and Samaria. And that government of the whole is almost impossible. And that one of the ideas that some people in Israel have is that of creating several emirates in Gaza and in Judea, Samaria, where each clan controls its own city or area, and the space in between is controlled by Israel. And that might actually work. That might actually work. But it was the clan, the family clan, the dominant family clan in Han Yunis that took on these assholes yesterday, like the dominant clan on Hebron took on Fatah and Hamas about a month ago.
Mhm.
We're coming to the point where these people are so fucking weak and defeated that even the local clans that have been cowering behind the kitchen uh, for the past 15 years are now coming out and asserting authority over their territory.
Well, the local clans are armed with rifles and light machine guns. That's it. And okay, you
Well,
know,
and what they can take from the vanquished Hamas.
true. Okay, Hamas is easily one of the most degenerate political movements in human history, and you could safely say that they were worse than the Derlevanger Brigade. The Derlevanger Brigade did not rape women to death. There was just the Derlevanger Brigade did not throw babies in ovens. They did.
No, they cut adults into pieces.
The Derlevanger Brigade.
Yep.
Yeah. No, I mean, you know, they were bad enough that the Waffen SS wanted them disbanded.
Well,
But
it's worse. Dirlewanger was a Waffen SS, and the officers of the Waffen SS didn't want him anywhere near them.
yeah,
And Hitler created the Dirlewanger Brigade so that he could pull him out of the SS before the other officers killed him, and still take advantage of his qualities and let him loose in Poland. The son of a bitch was one of the most savage psychopaths in World War II, and that's quite a statement.
well, he was released from prison for raping an underage girl. You know, in the polls, he was arrested, and the polls said, "Geez, he died in prison." Yeah, he died of being beaten to death. But Hamas is easily they're worse than the Hanshar, the Croatians who murdered Bosnians and Serbs. No,
The
yeah.
Ustashi,
yeah.
they were saved by the Pope.
Mhm.
They were taken to Italy and kept in monasteries until the Vatican made a deal with Peron, and they were all sent to Argentina.
Mhm.
Ante Pavelic
Mhm.
arrived in Argentina with 25,000 of them
Mhm.
in a single swoop. They're
Mhm.
still over there. There are very few survivors of the original group, but their children and grandchildren are notorious fucking assholes and fascists. Many of them had quite a participation in the 70s in the torture of prisoners. Uh,
Well, the Baltics are full of very primitive people. The Bosnians were Muslims, but only in name. And then after Yugoslavia fell apart, and the Bosnians started getting persecuted by the Serbs and the Croatians, they started welcoming Al Qaeda, and you ended up with Bosnian, Islamists. And again, that's retrograde action.
and perhaps from their point of view, the Croats and the Serbs and the passivity of Europe and the whistling tangos of Clinton didn't leave him much choice, did it?
Yeah, it's no, I mean, I'm not saying that they should have just died, but on the other hand, the way the Bosnians started treating women after the fall of Yugoslavia and the Yugoslavian Civil War. No, all these people are primitive. You heard that the Saudis held a comedy festival, and all the American comics who went there, they're now being trashed by their peers for going to Saudi Arabia. And again, this is this is pure stupidity on the part of the people trashing them. Saudi Arabia's first stand-up comic event. I mean, come on. This is that itself absolutely negates the complaints about Saudi Arabia being some kind of primitive jihadist state.
Jeff Dunham,
Yeah,
doing his Ahmed the Dead Terrorist Kid in Riyadh,
yeah.
and nobody died.
Or Bill Burr. Bill Burr, Bill Burr has gotten all woke, but he used to be very funny, and he's very profane. And they said they weren't told to moderate in any way, shape, or form. So, the Saudis are getting shit by these. I saw some comic I've never even heard of saying he was invited. He's not going to go there. They actually performed in Saudi Arabia and the Emirates, I believe, or the Emirates were involved in the event. This guy was claiming that the Emirates are primitive savages.
Okay,
Yeah.
if they say so. The ignorance of these idiots,
Mhm.
mind-boggling,
Yeah.
and that's why Dubai is today's New York, and New York is today's New Delhi.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, leftists are they're so full of moral standards that they anywhere leftists run a city, they run it into the ground. You have people like Seth Rogen saying that the price of living in Los Angeles is high crime, and that you're a bitch if you complain about it. And I just watched a video. Cop got a call that there was a homeless nutter running around with a shovel hitting things. So he arrived here in California. The nutter charged him, so he shot and killed him. And that's something you have to accept now. Somebody walking down he was in a residential area, walking down your street, smashing things with a shovel because he's insane and he's high. And come on, where's the morality in that, Mr. Leftist? Where is the morality in allowing that? Not only do the residents have to suffer, but where is the morality in letting a homeless, insane man run free?
Run free. In 1982 at NYU, my question to the assholes who were, let's say, at that time, in 79, police were still picking up the homeless, especially in the winter, and taking them to shelters.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, they wouldn't stay in shelters, and you couldn't oblige them, but at least they would get, a defleeced, a bath, a hot meal, sober up a little bit, and then they would go back on the street. The left in New York was opposed to the police taking them to shelters
Of course.
because, they're free. And my question to these assholes back then was, what are they? What are you suggesting? That they're free to die and that's about it?
Yeah.
You're living a man exposed to the elements in New York's winter. They are fighting and killing each other for a space over the grates of the subway so they can get some warm air up their ass. And you're telling me that taking them to a shelter is a crime because they ought to be free to die of exposure? I never got an answer to this day.
Well,
And yeah,
during the Occupy New York movement or Occupy Wall Street, I think it was one of the weekend magazines, the New York Times weekend magazine or whatever. It was a
Sunday.
story. Pardon me?
The New York Times was the Sunday magazine.
Sunday Times magazine.
Yep.
It was an article about, it was titled something like Love Among the Occupiers. And it was these two, a man and a woman in their early 20s who'd met and had fallen in love, and they were photographed. And they were the most dissolute looking. She looked like she was 50, and he was not far behind her. They were like, okay, they were living in literal piles of manure, and they were drinking and taking drugs, and here they are being lionized about their idealism and all that. And she had like those huge boozer bags under her eyes, and I'll never forget that because, okay, for one, the two of them were dirty. So when they got together to express their love, it would just be like, it'd be worse than like, what are animals that are famous for their stink? Besides skunks. Just, I don't know. I mean, you could tell like the writer was living vicariously through them, but viewing them as these sexy, clean young people. And they were pigs.
I've had encounters with skunks more than I wish, but hey, I live in the country, and I have happened upon the abode of the homeless in New York. I'll take the skunks.
Yeah.
There is a sweetness to the musk that you might get accustomed to, but the awful stench of feces, ass, armpit, sweat in those hovels is worse than anything I've ever encountered in the animal kingdom.
Well, before we sold the house 2 doors down, it was a really weird house because it started out as like a 2-bedroom house. I guess a 3-bedroom house, 2 stories. And then it had a workshop where my grandfather worked on his guns. And so they built a room connecting it. And there was an alley. The workshop used to be a garage, and they converted it to a workshop and closed the door and nailed it shut. And there was this weird little cubby hole that there were these 2 barn doors that opened up into the alley. But before you got to the alley, there was this weird little cubby hole that had, I think it was where they stored tools. And a homeless guy lived there for a while. And the way I discovered him was by the smell. And he had his blankets and his sleeping bag and all that. And I went in there when he was gone and cleaned it all out. And he left behind this. Saul.
Watching.
Are you watching?
Yes.
See this?
Yes.
Yep. This is what he left behind. When I originally found it, it looked like this. So this was he would cuddle this at night when he slept. So I washed it and decided to keep it as a memory of that old house.
Oh, holy crap.
Yep. So when I go to Vegas, I'll take it with me and I'll remember my city with that little head.
It's a good thing he didn't leave an inflatable wife.
No, there was a lamp There was a little bedside lamp, even though there was no outlet out there. So maybe he would imagine the light and he would have conversations with that head. I don't know. He was crazy. And you know, he was free to roam, and it was illegal to treat him against his will, because he had to, the Supreme Court ruled that if somebody can survive out on the street, then nobody can force somebody to treat them.
Right.
That's a very, very low bar, isn't it?
And how do you know if they can survive? Because they're not dead yet.
Right. And
No, tomorrow morning is a different story.
when you find their body, then you know that, oh, they couldn't survive.
Then
Then
you can take him to a shelter.
Yeah, no, you put him in Potter's Field and you forget about him, because
Yeah.
it was a leftist Supreme Court that made that decision.
Of course. Speaking of court decisions, did you see? And I don't mean just the sentence, which is the obvious thing, but did you see the sentencing of the little fuck who tried to kill Trump?
Was it Trump or Kavanaugh?
Oh, I'm sorry, Kavanaugh.
Yeah.
Did you see that?
Yeah.
4 years.
Yeah, because he's transsexual. That, for some reason, that's a mitigating factor.
The stupid cow, Biden appointee, actually stated that, you know, out of these things, we at least have the positive that his family recognized, no, her family recognized her sexual identity.
Yeah, because that's what's important.
Wow. And what the fuck does that have to do with the price of oranges in China? It's totally irrelevant to the case. She used that stupidity to justify departing from the guidelines that called for 30 years,
Mhm.
which is already quite lenient, if you ask me, because if you even attempt to kill a Supreme Court justice, you should go to Old Sparky.
Well, this is, I mean, we're seeing, you saw that, what is it, the North Carolina candidate for Attorney General said he wanted to shoot his Republican opponent in the head.
Virginia.
And now he's apologizing. I'm so sorry. And they always say this.
Apologizing because they got him.
Yeah. No, I mean, he needs to be disqualified. He's insane.
He won't be. That bitch Spamberger running for governor, he said that it is awful. He ought to apologize. And he apologized. And nobody's asking him to just drop it and go. How do you want an attorney general who fantasizes about killing his political rivals?
Well, good luck. If you're a Republican, good luck getting a fair trial in Virginia.
Never will. And the one we have now, Jason Miyares, who I really like and I'd like for governor eventually. He's a very nice chap, incredibly knowledgeable of the law, and you know, a good guy all around. And he's running for re-election. And I know you know by now whose vote he's got. But this other asshole is fantasizing about putting 2 bullets in the head of a political opponent.
Mm-hmm.
And he thinks that's fine.
Well, leftists believe, according to the polls, that political violence is acceptable. So this is the new leftist way of doing business. And we're going to see more of it. And okay, after what happened in Chicago, you're going to see a massive crackdown. And I mean, Antifa thought ICE and you know, DHS troops, officers were hard asses before. Just wait until the active duty military shows up, because that's what's going to happen.
Oh, they're going to kick ass.
Yeah.
Half of them are going to end up in Canada. I mean, the Antifa.
Yeah.
Which is not bad because Canada is a country of Antifas. So they're going to feel right at home.
Yeah.
For all of you out there who belong to Antifa, just get the fuck out of here. Go to Canada. You're going to be home. I can't. Kakanen of Finland is saying in the chat that, and it's true because I read the chat entries. He also fantasized with killing the wife and child
Yeah.
of his opponent. So
No,
it's, I mean, he's a frustrated asshole.
well, also
Frustrated Al Qaeda.
he's a Stalinist. He's a North Korean dictator. They always round up the family, including the children. The rationale in the Soviet Union was that we have to kill the children too, because otherwise they'll grow up and seek revenge. And
Right.
They're all they've all pulled off the mask, and they always believe this, but now they feel, for whatever stupid reason, they feel very comfortable. Somebody, I don't know if it was a streaming service or a studio. I think it was streaming. They were going to put out a movie called The Savant. Have you heard of this?
No.
The Savant is a movie about a housewife who monitors and reports right-wing terrorism. She busts right-wing terrorist plots in the U.S.
Wow.
And the movie's been postponed indefinitely after the Charlie Kirk murder. There's another movie that came out called Battle After Battle. It was directed by a guy named Paul something Anderson. He got a lot of flack from his last movie, Licorice Pizza, because it didn't have any black people in it. So he made a movie that's pro-Antifa, and it stars that increasingly chubby Leonardo DiCaprio, and he's an Antifa bomb maker, and they fight against ICE and the DHS. And the movie came out, and it bombed, and it got slaughtered by the critics and slaughtered by the viewers. But again, this is
trying to do the apology of terrorism. Let's face it.
Yeah. No, and the thing is that they're way too soft to be an effective terrorist movement, like the Weather Underground. They were not effective. They thought,
but they succeeded in bombing the House of Representatives, the Senate. They blew up an entire townhouse in the West Village in New York because they were using it as a bomb factory, and they fucked up.
Yeah,
and bombed their own house.
They were ineffective. This country is not susceptible to revolutions. It's too diverse.
No, it's not susceptible to revolution. There is no class struggle in this country, and that's why they failed miserably. Even though in a period of a few short years, they detonated 1,500 bombs across the U.S.
There was a period.
I'm not talking about the Weather Underground only. I'm talking about the lot of them.
There was a period in the U.S. in the early 70s where there was a bombing per day.
Every day
in the country. And one of the most famous stories about it is there was an all-black audience watching a movie in the Bronx, and a bomb went off in the theater, and they turned on the lights and said everyone had to evacuate, and then the theater goers refused. They wanted to see the end of the movie. They were so blasé over the bombings that, they looked around and said, "Is anybody hurt?" No. Okay, turn down the lights and let's finish the movie.
And imagine that the people who did this, the people who put a bomb in the House of Representatives, the people who damaged the structure of the Senate, the people who blew up houses, they all ended up as professors
Of course, they're beloved.
at the University of Illinois, at Columbia, at some that Beach Boudin, whose big accomplishment was the killing of two guards at armed car robbery. Her son was your attorney I think it was in San Francisco.
San Francisco, yeah. Didn't he
Chesa
have a,
Boudin was the son of this bitch, and because she was in jail, he was raised by Bill Ayers and Bernardine Dorn, who were bomb throwers in their own right.
Mhm.
And by the way, the political godparents of Obama.
Mhm.
I mean, they went from throwing bombs, killing the innocent, maiming the innocent. That bitch Nancy Pelosi, January 6th was the worst attack on the Capitol in the history of this country. How about bombing the fucking House of Representatives, you stupid cow? And those were your friends.
Well, yeah, I mean, nobody gives a shit about January 6th again. The Democrats have finally figured that out. But okay, the difference between the early 70s and today is the technology that that cops have, that law enforcement has. And we're never going to have an uprising full of brave Antifa members bombing and shooting and all of that. I mean, in Dallas, was it Dallas? Something like 11 armed Antifa opened fire, and I think one officer was shot in the neck, and all those fuckers ended up arrested. They're going to go to prison for the rest of their lives.
That's how much to go to Old Sparky. I'm telling you.
Yeah.
Some of these people do not deserve to come out of this.
Well, see, they're fantasizing. They're lost. They're like Hollywood. They're like that movie I told you about at the beginning of the show. They're drowning in leftism, and well, you know what they're like? They're like furries. Furries see themselves as those sexy cartoons they draw of themselves, when in reality, these are not attractive people, which is why they wear costumes. And all these, okay, you look at the people wearing black today in the various cities protesting against ICE. They're fat, or they're hyper skinny, screeching women. There are no bone breakers. There are no thugs. There are no, two-fisted street brawlers. They're all gone. That shit ran its course, and what we're seeing now is the remnants. And now that they've actually tried to murder some ICE agents, and ICE has had to open fire on them, things are going to change. Trump is going to give out orders that it's going to make people. Was it the mayor of Chicago? No, the police chief of Chicago was threatening to tear down fences surrounding ICE facilities.
Yeah, well, the mayor too.
Oh. And the mayor. Yeah, good luck with that.
Yeah, they might guess. I'll tell you what. You do it yourself. Throw a Molotov cocktail and don't wear a vest. That'll take care of things. Quick, nice and easy.
In Portland, when the ICE agents were being ambushed, the cops got a stand down order, and so they decided not to do their jobs.
In Portland, not only they don't do their jobs when there are attacks against ICE agents, but the one time they intervened was to arrest a conservative blogger
Mm-hmm.
who was there just filming, and they arrested him.
Mm-hmm.
So they're there. They can make arrests, but they only make arrests with those who interfere with Antifa. You draw your own conclusions.
Back when I was on Twitter, I had a discussion with a Portland cop, and they said it was the fault of the voters for voting in leftists, that these guys were not going to do anything to jeopardize their pensions. And I said, what if all of you just ignored the stand down order simultaneously and did your fucking job? Would they fire all of you? No. I got no response.
Then you have no excuse.
Yeah.
You see, all of the officers of the law are sworn to enforce the law and defend the Constitution and the laws of the United States. Period. End of story. Not the mayor of Portland.
Mm-hmm.
And if they get fired because they exercise their proper function, they have a lovely case. They're going to have better than the regular retirement because they're going to attract millions from that stupid city. They don't do it because, bottom line, they like Antifa better.
Yeah, of course. No, do you remember there was a terrorist attack on Luby's cafeteria 30 years ago? Some nutter drove his truck through the front and started killing old people. And this was in Texas, and two plainclothes detectives happened to be just outside, and they reported it in. They were told to wait for backup, and they said, fuck that. And they went in on their own, and they shot the guy until he committed suicide. So they saved God knows how many people.
As opposed to the police in Manchester.
Yeah, in Manchester, yeah.
That's a lovely one.
No, it's
lovely one. They have a Muslim attacker who we don't know what his motivation was, but his name is Jihad.
And he attacked a synagogue.
Who attacks a synagogue? By the way, have you noticed how everybody's obsessed? And on Yom Kippur, the holiest on Yom Kippur, Egypt, Jordan, and Syria launched a war on Israel. What's the big deal? They do this all the time. Okay, so shut the fuck up. Would it be different had it been 2 weeks after Yom Kippur?
Hmm.
Should we look at it with, oh, well, at least it wasn't on Yom Kippur. Oh, shut the fuck up, you all idiots. The day is the least consequential issue in this matter. What matters is that a guy named Jihad, for reasons that you don't know because you don't want to know, went to kill Jews. And the police were called, and strangely, they responded.
Mm-hmm.
So they shot a hail of bullets at the guy and eventually got him, together with a couple of Jewish guys who were holding the door so he couldn't get in.
Mm-hmm.
So the two courageous people who were holding that door to keep the assassin out and saved a lot of people. One of them died. The other one is critical in the hospital right now because the Manchester police are a bunch of fucking incompetent morons who had zero training, and when confronted with a real criminal, they don't know what the fuck to do.
Well, what I don't like is the way all cops are trained to treat a knife as if it's a tactical nuclear weapon. I saw a video once. It was somewhere in Africa, and there was this nutter with a machete, and this cop pulled up and he started marching toward the guy. He hadn't drawn his pistol. Very, very resolute. The guy like bent over and was like threateningly scraping his machete on the asphalt. And when the cop got up to him, he raised his arm. The cop grabbed him and flipped him over his head onto his back. And I'll be goddamned if every ex-cop channel here in the U.S. said that he shouldn't have done that. He should have just shot him. And it's like, but he knew what he was doing. He knew what he was doing. He didn't treat the machete like a tactical nuclear weapon. He kept an eye on it, and he knew what he was doing. So how about giving him praise? How about, you know?
Oh, I'll give him praise, but lament, it's a pity he didn't fucking shoot him.
Well, he didn't
Now
have
we're gonna have to spend money on a trial and all that.
Well, it was Africa,
But,
so
but you're,
the prison.
but you're right. But you're right. The guy did what he thought was best. He did it well. What's their fucking problem?
You know, I'm not a cop. Cops perform exceptionally, overwhelmingly, you know, in this country. Policing in Europe is gradually deteriorating.
What I can tell you about my experience in Europe is that police are highly inefficient,
Mm-hmm.
highly corrupt. There is hardly a chief of police anywhere in Spain or France or England, even particularly in big cities, not in towns, that is not on the take.
Mm-hmm.
They're all bent. And they all have this attitude of, I'm the boss here.
Mm-hmm.
Eh, I have many friends who are cops in Barcelona, and they go to bars. They don't pay. They
Mm-hmm.
go to the finest restaurants. And I invited one for dinner one day, and he said, if you don't mind, I'll tell him that you are my guest. No, but I'm paying. Okay, but let me tell them that you are my guest, and then you pay whatever bill they bring us. And we had a 5-course meal with the most expensive champagne on the list for €10.
Mm-hmm.
Because they did bring a bill, and
Mm-hmm.
I did pay it, and it was €10. Eh, the corruption is everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
One day I'm driving with this guy through the Chinese neighborhood in Barcelona, and there is a truck over there. And he says, "Oh, come on, asshole!" Because they drive bitching and ranting and raving. "Oh, come on, asshole, move it, man, man, man! Come on, asshole, move it!" And the guys that were unloading the truck couldn't give a shit. So he puts the blue light. Come on, move it! And at this point, the guy unloading the truck goes like this, and this guy jumped out of the car, pulled his gun, and I said, fucking move it! The guy with the truck drove away without even closing the doors in the back.
Mm-hmm.
You know where we were going?
Mm-hmm.
A pizza joint.
Mm-hmm.
But they feel that they can do these things over there because they don't have to answer for it.
Mm-hmm.
On the other hand, if they shoot a terrorist who is attacking them, they go to trial.
Mm-hmm.
Riddle me that one, Batman.
Well, in the UK now, you're not allowed to help somebody on the street. If somebody on the street is being attacked, you're not allowed to intervene. And the person being attacked is not allowed to say, help me. They
Yep.
can only say, call the police.
Police,
Yeah.
police, police. Um, Jihad, what's his name? He became a UK citizen age 6. Uh, the whole thing is upside down. You have 24-year-old Moroccans living in homes for children
Mhm.
in Spain because, like they did here at the border, they throw their documents before they get arrested coming in, and then they lie about their age because a minor gets more benefits.
Mhm.
Ah, so you have 26-year olds saying they are 16.
Mhm.
Now, you only need to look at the son of a bitch to know he's lying, but the socialists in government decide to look the other way.
Because they're being kind.
Oh, they're being worse than kind. Eh, in the areas where they have these homes, rapes have gone up by a factor of 1,000.
Mhm.
If there was one rape in the previous year, there's 1,000 rapes now. Usually of teenagers or 13, 12-year-old girls. And the guys committing these rapes are these underage Moroccans.
Mhm.
If you publish their names, you go to jail. The judges free them on the spot without bail because they're
Mhm.
minors.
Mhm.
I mean, truly, I don't want to be. I thought that Gatsad has very, very interesting things. I don't agree with everything that comes out of his mouth, but he has some very interesting things. And suicidal empathy is the best description that I found for this thing.
Mhm.
I haven't read his book. I don't know how he defines it, but the first thing that comes to my mind with the policies of Europe in particular is suicidal empathy. I think it's worse than that, by the way.
Mhm.
I think it's not out of empathy for Moroccans. They do it out of avarice. They do it out of self-interest. They fund all of these NGOs that run these centers because those NGOs are run by their friends and they get a 50% kickback.
Mhm.
They do this not because they feel any empathy for the poor son of a bitch from North Africa. They do this because they're getting millions out of it.
That's the people in charge, but the average person on the street, they feel suicidal empathy. They're still not ready to do what the Brits are doing. Um, they're still not ready to march. They're still not. I mean, there are marches, but not.
Yeah, nearly nothing, and in most of Europe is the same thing. But the problem is, you watch the TV, listen to the radio, and it's
Mhm.
a constant carping. It is our duty to receive these people as our immigrants were received abroad when we were in need. Uh, but the people who feel empathy in this case are manipulated by the media and
Mhm.
have no fucking idea. For them, it's not suicidal empathy because there is no trade-off, as far as
Well,
they know.
today, the European capital of illegal arms trafficking, gun deaths, hand grenade attacks, and explosives attacks is Stockholm, Sweden. So the Swedes were very proud of their progressiveness in the literal form of the word, their progress, their modernity, um, their ability to care and solve problems. And now Stockholm is where criminals go to buy illegal handguns, and hand grenade attacks are so common that, you know, they're just part of life now. Hand grenade attacks.
Isn't that lovely?
When was the last time we had a hand grenade attack in this country? Can you even think of one?
No,
Yeah, I can't either.
no. I'm sure there must have been one, but I don't remember that. And probably more like one hand grenade going off than an attack with hand grenades.
Mhm.
You know, the Scandinavians, they can go fuck themselves.
Mhm.
I remember when in 2017 I was telling people that Sweden uh, was committing social suicide,
Mhm.
that it was becoming a violent country. I was derided by
Oh, of
a
course.
shit ton of people. How dare I say that? Sweden is a socialist paradise. The problem is that you hate socialists, so you're making stories up. And I said, no, there are no-go zones already. This is getting worse by the week. And all of this shit, by the way, in Europe started with the Willkommen school too. Remember that?
Mhm.
And that is Angela Merkel's gift to Western Europe. Now, you know what's interesting? Remember that I used to call her Honecker's daughter?
Mhm.
I called her that because she acted like a fucking East German communist.
Mhm.
Her Stasi file is now available. She was a Stasi agent.
Mhm.
It's no longer my guessing. It's a fact. Germany managed to elect to government a Stasi agent that fucked them up, put them upside down, destroyed their economy. It's like Honecker is doing to West Germany now through Angela Merkel what he couldn't do in life.
Mhm.
And nobody's waking up yet. I mean, a few people are, and obviously AFD is now 27% of the vote intention and the largest party in Germany. And 27%, which means 75% do not. 75% are still Christian Democrats and Socialists and Greens and the rest of that riffraff. It's depressing. It's depressing. Hopefully, England will show the way.
Well, the Germans are especially pathetic because, you know, they descended from the Teutonic tribes. They started 2 world wars, and now they're green pussies, and they're inviting in savages who rape, but who can't throw a punch. You know, I saw there's lots of videos online of refugees trying to pick fights with Scottish men, and they end up laid out on the concrete because they can't.
I'm betting on the Scottish man.
Yeah, the Middle Easterners can't punch; they slap. And so some guy comes at you to slap you, and you punch him in the face. And he goes down onto the cobblestones.
Yep.
Did I tell you?
There's something because when you're going to slap, you're coming in from up to the side.
Mhm.
You're telegraphing your intent.
Yeah.
The guy on the receiving end of the slap, while you are telegraphing your move, he goes, book, and off you go. And the guy never saw it coming.
I saw a video from Ireland where 2 African refugees attacked this kid, and just what they do is they get you on the ground and then they kick you.
Yeah.
So they messed up this kid, and then the second part of the video was 5 hooded men with claw hammers in a park beating on this guy, and he was say you're sorry, say you're sorry. And he's like, I'm sorry, say it again. And they all had balaclavas on, and they worked this guy over. The minute the video is almost a minute long of 5 men hitting him with claw hammers. And
now let's face it, I never liked vigilantism,
no,
but in some places, it's like they're giving people no other chance.
well, okay, the
No other
Irish cops.
choice.
I think the Irish Garda, I think they have sidearms. I think they have pistols. I'm not sure. I think they do, because I know that during the Troubles, the Garda, went after the IRA with machine guns and everything. But I saw 2 fat Garda men patrolling, and out of nowhere, a little midget Muslim came up and, screaming Allah Akbar, stabbed one of them. Apparently it was nothing. But they spent the next, I don't know, almost a minute trying to get him down and handcuff him. And I think I told you this, 2 different women appeared out of nowhere demanding why they were arresting him. And that's Ireland for you.
They can
They
go
didn't
fuck
shoot him.
themselves. By the way, I think you got the wrong Garda here. In the Republic of Ireland, the Garda helped the IRA. It is in Northern Ireland where police were well armed and confronting them.
Okay, so let's see. What was the Ulster Defense Force? Was that?
Well, that's obviously Northern Ireland. That's Ulster. That's part of the United Kingdom, and where Belfast is and all the jazz. But their police were armed, but it has nothing to do with the Garda in the Republic of Ireland, which have always been not just a band of pussies, but that during the Troubles actually assisted the IRA.
Oh, Christ. Lake Garda. No.
No, Lake Garda is a completely different thing, isn't it?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Google is
Beautiful
my
place.
head.
Absolutely gorgeous place between Italy and Switzerland.
Holy shit.
And both guys saying when the government fails to protect the people will take matters in their own hands. Eventually they will. I'm against it. I'm opposed to the idea. I don't believe in popular justice, which has led to millions being killed.
Lynching.
For no good reason. Lynching. How about popular justice in Cuba after the revolution or in all of these places? I don't believe in popular justice. I believe in justice.
What is it? The Bolivarian army in Venezuela that attacked.
That's the actual army of Venezuela.
Yeah.
That's the army of Venezuela, which now they call it Bolivarian army because they decided to soil the memory of Simon Bolivar, who had nothing to do with this shit, and in fact, despised them.
Mm-hmm.
Simon Bolivar in 1832, as he was leaving Venezuela going into exile because he had up to his crown with these imbeciles, wrote a letter to General Flores, who was going to succeed him. And in the letter, he says, in the 20 years that we have tried to govern this country, we have learned a few things that I would like to share with you before marching to exile. He died on his way. He was going to Jamaica, but he died in Venezuela. Number one, he who serves a revolution tills the seas. In other words, you're not going to change anything. B, this land is ungovernable to us. 3, these brutish and ignorant people are going to choose a succession of dictators, civilian and military, to govern them until, if such thing could possibly happen, they return to primeval chaos. Finally, the only thing an intelligent person can do in Spanish America is emigrate.
Mm-hmm.
Now, this is what Bolivar said.
Mm-hmm.
If he were alive, he'd be cutting off their heads now.
Mm-hmm.
But they appropriated the historical figure, very much loved after 2 centuries of propaganda. And everything is Bolivarian now.
Mm-hmm.
Fuck them. They had no right to Simon Bolivar. Simon Bolivar was a liberal Mason, an admirer of George Washington,
Mm-hmm.
who went to Venezuela to protect Venezuela from the French in the name of the Junta of Seville. And when the king was restored, he realized, like so many in his position, that if he returned to Spain, he would hang for being a liberal Mason.
Mm-hmm.
So he finally relented and, okay, let's have independence. His first idea was to model a great republic from Venezuela to Peru after the US, copying the US Constitution, trying to inculcate into the minds of the people the importance of the democracy in the republic, yada, 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 yada. And he failed fucking miserably because, as he put it, these brutish and ignorant people, dominated by priests, will never be able to form a republic. How about that?
Well, when I was there, Venezuela had just come out of a military dictatorship. When my parents arrived, Venezuela was under a dictatorship, and one of the things the dictator did was he outlawed car horns. He didn't like car horns.
Yeah, they bothered him when he tried to sleep, so he outlawed the horns
Yep.
all over the country.
So Venezuelan drivers would bang the door of their car instead of use their horns. And so all Venezuelan cars had dented driver's doors from the drivers banging them with their left hands. So that tells you all you need to know about Venezuela right there.
Yeah. Well, at least they were showing some rebellion, some instinct for rebellion, which usually they don't. Because there's no more servile people on the planet.
Mm-hmm.
The phrase in Spanish is hijos del rigor. They are the children of how would I translate this? When a father is stern and a stern disciplinarian.
Mm.
These are the children of a stern disciplinarian. They only understand things if you kick their ass.
Mm-hmm.
Are we still talking about Qatar? Who's talking about Qatar? Oh, they're having a separate conversation over there.
Well, I did want to mention Trump got a lot of shit for guaranteeing Qatar's security.
Mm-hmm.
I don't see a problem with it. Do you?
Well, not only I don't see a problem, I see a justification.
Mm-hmm.
Number one, if Qatar drops Hamas like a hot potato
Mm-hmm.
and stops acting as the middleman of Iran, they become a target.
And this this is how we wean them away from Iran, is by guaranteeing their security.
You do what's right. You do what's right. You deliver to me Hamas asshole on a platter, and you stop aiding Iran to bypass sanctions, to bank through you, and I guarantee your safety.
Mm-hmm.
Do you see a problem with that? I don't see a problem with that.
No, see, okay, there's this weird attitude among conservatives that you don't. I guess, okay, it's all crazy because we our side hates war and always gets hysterical when wars start, but they also seem to want punishment for countries. They want
They invite war.
What's that?
They invite war. Non-interventionism
Yeah, of course.
accelerates the development of war. These
Right.
fucking imbeciles, under the guise of opposing war, are bringing it to our shores.
Also, but the same people don't want us to guarantee Qatar's national security or security,
Right.
and by doing so, we get them to stop doing the very things that these people claim to oppose. So it's a win-win situation all around. I mean, there's no thinking involved, and
notice Qatar is telling Hamas, Qatar, the place where the big kahunas of Hamas found refuge. Qatar, the place that helped Hamas moved money around the world.
well,
And
who
by-
funded? They remember there was a period where Iran stepped back from Hamas and Qatar stepped in and helped them build these attack tunnels and everything.
That Qatar
Mm-hmm.
is now saying that Hamas is done for.
Mm-hmm.
Get the fuck out of my city. Because part of the deal is that Hamas leadership cannot remain in Doha.
Mm-hmm.
Get the fuck out of my city. Surrender. Deliver your arms. Release the hostages. Go into exile and go fuck yourselves. Well, I'm all for that.
Mm-hmm.
Is there anybody watching us tonight who doesn't like that? Please let me know let me know on the chat.
Yeah, I don't get it. The most advanced Arab countries are stepping away from Islam, and isn't that what all you people wanted? And now you're still like you're attacking comedians who performed in Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia is becoming essentially a westernized nation.
I gotta say this: a mecca for tourism.
Yeah.
The country that didn't take in tourists because they were guarding Mecca are now becoming a mecca for tourism.
At some point, so the Saudis are going to allow women to wear bikinis on their beach. That's what's going to happen.
They do already. Go to the Red Sea, baby. And oh my God, Saudi women in bikinis. Oh, they're a race apart. They do already. There is alcohol in some places in Saudi Arabia. Everybody knows it. It's not a problem anymore. Back in '82, they would cut off your hand if they caught you with a beer.
Well, I think it was the King. I don't think it was MBS. I think the King. Yeah, the King essentially disbanded the Vice and Virtue Police.
Yes.
So they don't exist anymore.
So they don't exist anymore. Women in Western garb go to movie theaters where they're intermixed with foreigners and Saudis, and they go to the movie theater alone. I mean, they don't need to have a minder anymore, and they drive, and they fly jets for the Air Force. I mean, it's not. Never mind my grandfather's or my father's is not the Saudi Arabia of my youth.
It's not the Saudi Arabia of 20 years ago.
It's insane.
Yep.
So, people need to release their sphincters a little bit, particularly on the right, because they're being too stupid about this.
They're being stupid, and the goal is to make as much of the world as we can be like us.
Yeah.
And this is what's happening. And so why are you like, okay, there's this lie that the Saudi government was behind 9/11. That's not true. There were Saudis.
That was debunked immediately. And by the way, let me see if I still have it here. Oh, yes, I do. Hold on just 1 second, please. I'll be right back.
Well, there were Saudis, members of the royal family, who funded Al Qaeda, but it wasn't a government thing. And what MBS did, MBS put all those guys in a giant hotel he converted to a prison, and they were all persuaded to tell the government where all their funds were, and the government confiscated all their funds and let them go. And they've all disappeared. So, Saudi Arabia is modernizing, but every Arab country, every Islamic country has its share of crazies. And in the Islamic world, violence and politics were always intertwined. This is why in Pakistan, not a single prime minister in the entire country's history has ever finished his or her term. They've all been either removed from office or assassinated. And, Pakistan is centuries behind Saudi Arabia. Pakistan, if it ever makes it, if Pakistan becomes like India, then there we go. If Pakistan becomes like India, then Pakistan will only be 100 years behind the United States. Right now, it's 300 or 400 years behind the United States.
Yeah, you're too generous with India. Going back to Saudi, this was published. Let me see the year. It's got to be here someplace. But it's 2002, 2003. Lovely. It says published in New York. Oh, there it is. Hold on. Type is too small for this. Can you believe these fuckers didn't put the year? Anyway, this was published within 2 years of 9/11 when the commission finished its report. It destroys every conspiracy theory against the Saudis. It destroys the conspiracy theories of Building 7. It is a very thorough document, not perfect, none of these ever is, but very thorough, very accurate. It addresses head on the myth of Bush letting the Saudis escape. And it explains not only the circumstances, but how this was a common practice that included a lot of countries. And
2004.
2004. So, and it's been now for crying out loud 21 years. And nobody's read it yet. Because they're still repeating all the bullshit that is debunked here. By the way, probably because it isn't a 10-page cartoon, they cannot read it.
Well, okay, think about this. all the accusations made against Bush, he lied us into war. Those are all lies. For Bush to have lied us into war, he would have had to know ahead of time that when we invaded, we wouldn't find stockpiles of chemical weapons labeled chemical weapons. He didn't know that. And we, in fact, did find the weapons of mass destruction. The problem is that Bush refused to defend himself. The Pentagon published all the documents they'd collected in Iraq, the ones that show that Osama bin Laden was an Iraqi asset.
An intelligence asset.
The ones that show that the Iraqi,
1994.
the ones that show the Iraqis trained Al Qaeda in Afghanistan. The ones that show that let's see, the Iraqi secret police was called the Mukhabarat, and
Yes.
there was a Mukhabarat agent who was a high-ranking Al Qaeda member. A Mukhabarat agent took part in an Al Qaeda attack. It was a chemical mortar attack against the American embassy in Czechoslovakia at the time. If it was still, when did the Czech Republic and the Slovakia?
At the time, it was still Czechoslovakia. Then it split between Czechia and Slovakia.
Every accusation made against Trump and Colin Powell Bush and Colin Powell is a lie, and people believe them.
Ironically, when Colin Powell became an Obamanite, he started lying about himself.
Of course, and you know it's really amazing because every country in the world did their own investigation of their pre-invasion intelligence and found that everything was accurate. But
it is that we didn't find anything.
What's that?
It is also a lie that we didn't find anything.
No, we found everything. They just weren't labeled. See, here's the thing. The UN weapons inspectors were under orders to not report weapons of mass destruction unless they were labeled weapons of mass destruction. And what we found were chemical weapons, artillery rounds next to 55-gallon drums of insecticide, or 55-gallon drums labeled insecticide.
Right.
Insecticide and chemical weapons are made from the same components, just mixed in different ways. And everything was tested. We found them. But Bush said, "Well, let history decide. Well, let history decide." And history decided, and he's still labeled a liar, and it's his fault.
Right. And people are still listening to the weapons inspector, Scott Ritter.
Holy shit, Scott Ritter. He popped up on
a lunatic.
He popped up on my YouTube. Well, he's a pedophile. He served time for trying to meet a 13-year-old girl.
He's a pedophile, an anti-Semite, a conspiracy theorist, and a deranged leftist.
Well,
and some people on the right take their cues from him.
Of course. He popped up on my YouTube recommendations for some reason, so I watched part of what he was saying. The title of the video is "Israel is Finished," and Scott Ritter was saying that the whole world had turned against Israel, and all Israel's actions prove that Israel is finished because Israel wouldn't be doing what it's doing if Israel were not finished, it would not be taking the actions it is now. And it was like, what the fuck are you talking about? What the fuck are you talking about, Scott? Go have another drink. Go watch your illegal images. And yeah, I mean, there are people who desperately believe him, because he's a Jew hater and he's delusional, and he tells them what they want to hear.
I'm sure that Tucker Carlson and Candace Owens love him.
Yeah, boy, Tucker Carlson and Candace Owens, amazing.
About deranged.
Well, just
but that's the thing. I mean, it was somehow these people capture the imagination of a lot of magatards,
hmm,
and then reason has a tough job catching up,
well,
and they have a shit ton of resources. And by the way, since we were talking about Qatar, Tucker Carlson is registered as an agent from Qatar, and
mhm,
he gets hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars from Qatar to spread Qatari propaganda.
mhm.
Hello, assholes! What do you need to see to figure out what kind of an asshole you're dealing with?
Well, all these people are spewing out fantasy, and what they're claiming, Scott Ritter, Israel's finished. If Israel isn't finished, which it isn't, and Israel continues to exist, what's he going to say? Well, he won't even be asked. The people interviewing him won't even.
The only reason Israel survived is because the minions in Washington came to their rescue, and we
Oh.
propped them up again. I mean, come on! I can hear what they're gonna say before they even think it.
Yeah, what is he going to say? That Trump is controlled by Zionists?
Right?
It's like, okay, name one.
No, from APAC. APAC doesn't get a dime from Israel. By the way, what is the country with the largest expenditure in lobbying in the U.S.?
Which country?
Yes,
I don't know.
number one is Qatar. Nearly 500 million a year. By the way, 500 million?
It's nothing.
It's fucking pocket change. Number two, what would that be?
I don't know.
China. About 300 million a year. Israel doesn't make the first 10.
Well,
Israel spends about 90 million a year in lobbying in the US. By the way, money in lobbying is paying lawyers to advocate for them, paying ads in the New York Times to promote their products, their ideas, their positions. There's nothing wrong with this.
also, okay, Candace says Trump is controlled by Zionists. Name one. Give me a name.
Yeah.
I want to know a name.
Me, I secretly control him. When we stop the program, I go into my dark room and start manipulating Trump's brain through a crystal ball.
All the people who claim that Israel controls the U.S. have never been able to explain why, when the U.S. orders
Or how.
when the U.S. orders Israel to stop military action, Israel always does.
Amazing, isn't it?
Biden cut off all of Israel's munitions.
So did Obama.
And so did Obama. You're right. He cut off their defensive munitions.
Yes.
So those are pretty ballsy actions for people who are controlled by the Israelis.
Aren't they?
Yeah.
The whole thing is so ridiculous. It hardly merits an argument. By the way, as I was talking about controlling Trump through a crystal ball, I remember that this week we have witnessed other acts of esoteric magic.
Mm-hmm.
Would you like to see one?
Mm-hmm. Holy shit. What the fuck is that?
Oh, that's a block of ice.
He's blessing the ice?
A 30,000-year-old block from an iceberg. Bullshit.
No, it's not. It's not even dripping water.
I know. It gets better. And yes, he was blessed.
Lord of life, bless this water. May it awaken our hearts, cleanse our indifference, soothe our grief, and renew our hope. Through Christ our Lord.
Would that be the Christ of Palestine?
Lord, bless this assembly, this conference. May the dialogue we engage in contain respect for all gathered here and the entire earth community. May we work towards a flourishing of all creation, held in being by our Creator, through Christ our Lord.
There we go.
Creation awaits our conversion. We commit to raising hope
Creation
and to
awaits
continuing
our
to
conversion.
unfold a river of hope. We move from tears to hope, from grief to action. Let us speak our pledges. Each help us to unfold this river of hope.
Ay, ay, ay.
After each pledge, we invite you to sing the refrain, Laudate si, mi Signor, con tutte le tue creature.
Oh God, no.
Wait. It gets better.
These words from St. Francis' Canticle of the Creatures mean, Praise be you, my Lord, with all your creatures.
Laudato si.
She took a little while there, didn't she?
Okay, what for number one?
You know who the worst enemy of the Catholic Church on this planet is today?
The Catholic Church.
No, the worst enemy of the Catholic Church is this asshole.
Well, what I want to know is why did he speak like this? We breathed this water. He sounded like somebody pretending to be a pious pope. Is that how he normally speaks?
Yes, pretty much. And it reminds me a thing that I used to say, Santos que estás en los cielos del matrimonio libradnos.
Yeah.
Literally what I just said is angels who are in heaven free us from matrimony. But it's done because what I just did, by the way, is the tone in which the priest gives the prayers in the mass.
Yeah. No.
There is a particular musicality to it.
Yeah,
I used to change the words.
When my mother died, I wasn't able to go to her funeral because I was having a really bad Meniere's attack. And so my brother, without any forewarning from anybody, had to give a eulogy. And they told him, you have to sing it. He said, what do you mean sing it? He said, well, you have to sing it the way we sing our prayers and everything. So he had to give his eulogy about my mother like this. And he said it was so embarrassing to have to do this. And it's just like, oh my God. Both my parents.
That's how he speaks.
My father, near the end of his life, started going to mass every morning at 7:00. And when he ended up in the hospice because he refused to cooperate with his medical care, he renounced religion entirely. He renounced Catholicism, everything. And my mother stopped going to mass. And then when she was in the hospital, her last time, she refused to see a priest. It was a Catholic hospital. They offered her a priest and she vehemently refused. And she too turned her back on Catholicism at the very end. And these were people who, my father carried around a little prayer to St. Jude on a little laminated card, and
I know a lot of people who carry it.
yeah, and my mother had a St. Christopher's medal that she wore around her neck. But both of them renounced Catholicism on their deathbed, and it was very strange because they did so in a kind of like the when my father entered the hospice. In the ambulance on the way to the hospice, he was explaining his career to the ambulance, the paramedic riding in the back with him. Totally rational. And then when we arrived at the hospice, he was put in bed, and the doctor came in and started speaking to him, and he was just staring at him. And so the doctor asked my brother and me, how long has he had dementia? We said about 3 minutes. He was fine like 3 minutes ago. And so the doctor asked him, do you practice a religion? And he said, no. So it was like, okay.
Expressing doubt, I see.
It was really eerie. I was sure that they were both going to die peacefully because they were what I thought were devout Catholics. And instead, they both died in terrible fear over the same reason. They thought they were going to hell. And, Catholicism is full of all these threats. If you don't do this, you're going to hell. If what is it? Venial sins and mortal sins.
Venial, yep.
Yeah.
Venial and deadly sins. More
deadly sins. Yeah. In
Spanish, it's veniales y mortales.
Yeah.
But say to the altar boys, if you don't bend over, you're going to hell.
I don't know.
Something to that effect.
I have nothing against the practice of Catholicism, but like you, I think the Pope should keep the fuck out of politics.
This thing, and by the way, I didn't want to bother everybody with 15 minutes of this crap. He goes on and on about climate change and environmentalism and all that jazz, because apparently we now have to worship creation.
Yeah. Gaia.
And he's practically said it in this little thing that I put in. Anybody who wants to watch it again, you're going to see that I'm not exaggerating. And it's like, what the fuck? Is it not? Is the Vatican now the head of the weekend church?
Yeah, he's a pagan. He's a leftist pagan.
He is. He is, to all practical purposes. I think he's closer to the Pachamama than he'll ever be to Christ.
No, I mean, the Vatican has been problematic going all the way from, I think it's
leave it at that. Going all the way from filling the blank.
I think their lowest moment was when they helped the Nazis. They gave them safe passage to Argentina and other South American countries.
The Vatican ran the rat line.
Yeah.
And it helped the Nazis from Germany, France, the fascists from Italy, the Ustache from Croatia, all of them to the tune of over 100,000.
Mm-hmm.
More, actually, that would be in a few months. Through a Vatican-owned hostel in Genoa, where they would embark for Rio or Buenos Aires. That hostel, by the way, it's been closed for 30 years. It still exists. It is in the same place in Genoa, and it's still the property of the Vatican.
Mm-hmm. No, and we're talking Joseph Mengele.
Yeah. Mengele arrived in Argentina with a Red Cross passport issued by the Vatican with a false name. And the same thing with Bormann. Bormann, I'm sorry. The same thing with von Leers. The same thing with Scorsese. All of these assholes. And like I just mentioned, Ante Pavelic and his entire army of Ustache. Oh God, Ivanisevic, Pavelic, such a collection of assholes you've never seen.
Yeah, and what is the possible Catholic rationale for doing that?
They were servants of the church.
They murdered priests.
Yeah, so did, I'm sorry, but so did Bergoglio.
True.
You know, murdering priests who don't toe the line is not really such a rare occurrence. Why don't you check the fate of Bishop Angelelli, for instance? I know Angelelli. He was murdered in Western Argentina by these fuckers with the okay of the Nuncio Apostolico. How about the Swedish nuns? Do you think that the Argentine military would kill bishops and nuns without the okay from the Nuncio?
Yeah,
Without
okay,
the-
nuns.
Without
nuns.
the church saying a fucking word?
The Nazis murdered nuns. They raped nuns.
Yeah.
Of course, yeah.
So did the Argentine military. How about Father Mujica,
Mhm.
the guy I used to work with when I was stupid and a leftist? Father Mujica was murdered with the express consent of the Archbishop of Buenos Aires. It was never an issue for the church.
Mhm.
They step out of line, well, he's all yours. So don't be too troubled by that apparent contradiction. The only reason there is a Vatican City today is because Mussolini gave it to them
Mhm.
as part of a deal. So they looked the other way. Novarum, so fucking close to Rerum Novarum that you wonder where fascism ends and the church begins. It's no, they've been, the Vatican in particular has been a bane on humanity and on Catholics. And on Catholics, the way they have exploited the faithful, built them, taking money from the faithful to organize caravans of illegals in
Mhm.
Mexico,
Mhm.
paying people in Guatemala to join those caravans. If that is not bilking the faithful, I don't know what is.
Well, their little gravy train got knocked off its rails by Trump. So,
Oh, isn't that lovely? You know, they lost a couple of billion a year.
I read that the caravans are still coming, but now they're gonna try and settle in Mexico. Good luck with that.
Yeah, I love that one. Well, I always say that as long as the Pope doesn't start dancing naked around Stonehenge under the moonlight, nobody needs to see that. Don't give him any ideas. Do you think that this blessing of the iceberg thing and calling the flock to worship creation is too far away from dancing naked in Stonehenge on a full moon?
Well, I mean, I've never seen anything as bizarre in my life. I've never seen a pope bless a piece of ice. At first, of course, he put his hand on it in contemplative silence because he was so emotionally moved by a chunk of ice.
Hmm. Now, let me reiterate before somebody. I'm not talking about Catholicism. I'm not talking about the Catholic faithful.
No,
I'm
me either.
actually I'm denouncing this fucker for betraying the faithful and the principles of Catholicism all rolled into one.
Yeah, I mean, I have no problem with Catholicism as a religion and with Catholics as believers of Catholicism. But I mean, watching the Pope bless a chunk of ice and then talk about what was it? They were going to read a bunch of pledges, and then at the end of each pledge, you would like spew out a paragraph of Latin.
Yeah. Lau- ah, alabado sea esto. Laudato si. Laudato si. And by the way, that is a reference to not only the Latin phrase and and oh God, what is the word I'm looking for? Um, alabanza. Um, but praising the Lord. It is also a reference to a Bergoglio encyclica that condemned capitalism. You
Mhm.
know, the time when he said that capitalism was the tongue of the devil.
Mhm.
Mm. So we have two or three messages here for those who are listening, and it's not fun. It, this is not the only singular betrayer of the faithful in the world. As Father Chris says, you can leave that, the dancing naked in Stonehenge, to the new Archbishop of Canterbury. And he's absolutely right. Except that I wish to God I'd never have to see that.
Well, she looks exactly the way I knew she would look.
Ugly.
She just, you look at her and you know exactly what her politics are, how she thinks, what she's going to say. Everything is just,
Yeah.
there's a good movie out. It's a prequel to the movie The Omen, and it's called The First Omen. And I think it's a Netflix movie if people are still watching Netflix. But I liked it. I thought it was really good. It takes place in the early 70s, and the premise is that there's two Catholic churches. There's the one we know of, and then there's the secret one. And the secret one believes that the world is turning away from Catholicism in such numbers that the only way to bring people back into the church is to bring about the rise of the Antichrist.
Oh,
So,
fuck. I thought you were going to talk about the giant spider in South Park.
well, what this church does is it's made multiple attempts to give birth to the Antichrist by
Oh boy.
somehow they've made a deal with Satan, and so Satan comes up and impregnates the woman, and usually the baby comes out so deformed that it's non-viable. But in this case, they're successful, and so it's all about. And then the baby who's born that we see is born is Damien from the Omen series.
Holy shit.
Yep. So
And he's got 666 tattooed on his ass.
he's got 666 on his head.
I know it. They're so very simple people. But this idea, there's the church you see and the hidden church with the secret plan. They say that about Masons. I mean, apparently I'm in contact with the Anunnaki to control over the world. And the Jews, of course.
Yeah, if the Jews were in control, it would be a much better world. I can tell you that.
No question about that. Eh, Plus, if 15 million Jews can control 8 billion people on the planet, they decide whatever they can get, man. It's like,
Well,
no,
exactly. They deserve to control it, for God's sake.
you're the best. More power
You're
to you.
definitely the chosen people. If you could pull that off.
Obviously. Eh, well, Masons are going to control the world. We cannot agree on a date for a barbecue.
No. Okay, Jewish people. You get two Jewish people together, they're going to have a
For
fight.
opinions.
Well, not only for opinions, but an eventual fight, a screaming match, or even a fist fight. So it's shocking that the country of Israel functions as well as it does, given that it's got so many Jewish people in it.
I really don't know. And like you said, the Jews would make a better world of this, of what we have, if they could. Certainly, what they've done in Israel looks very good on the resume.
Mm-hmm.
They've created the only country not only in the Middle East, but anywhere in the world, really. Because I used to think of the US as such. And to a degree, perhaps we still are. Where Jews, Christians, Buddhists, Muslims, Hindu can all live in harmony without jumping at each other's throat.
Well, look at all the Muslims who are in the IDF and
Yeah.
Who call themselves Israelis before anything else.
20% of the population of Israel are Muslims, fucking, and nobody even mentions it.
Mm-mm.
And the upper side, that 20% is represented in the Knesset. The head of the judiciary was a Muslim. They have Muslim generals
They have Muslim generals.
It's like, give me a fucking break, you idiots.
Well, this is why Hamas targeted Muslims
Of course.
October 7th.
Of course. And the Muslims in the IDF, in the Nazareth, they are Druze, they are Bedouins, people who are killing each other between them, because Druze and Bedouins have been at each other's throat in southern Syria since time immemorial. But in Israel, they fight alongside each other in the IDF.
Think about it. Hamas likes to present itself as this vanguard of jihadism. And what do? They have to make rockets out of water pipes. That's the extent of their technological advancement. And in Israel, on the other hand, they're using weapons that we don't even know what the hell they are. The defeat of Hamas should have taken much longer. There were military experts predicting that it was going to take. Remember, it was going to take 10 years. Remember when they said that Israel would never be able to defeat Hezbollah?
Yeah. I'm sorry. Say that again.
Remember when they said Israel could never defeat Hezbollah?
Beep, beep. That's all it took.
Yeah, they did it.
Boom.
Basically, they did it in one day.
Yes. And then a week later, just in case somebody escaped, the phones. Ring, ring, boom.
Yep. Also, walkie-talkies.
It's like a fucking cartoon.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's actually glorious that Hezbollah went in a plume of smoke like a fucking cartoon.
Yeah.
And then Nasrallah, he thought he was safe. He was in a bunker built by the Germans.
Yeah. They guaranteed that it was bomb-proof. The Israelis don't have strategic bombers, so they can't carry weapons like the massive ordnance penetrator. But they hit it with 80 2,000 bomb. So they
Yes.
kept hitting the same hole over and over and over and over again. And, you know, the same holes rather. And, you know, eventually the whole thing caved in and Nasrallah wasn't actually crushed. He suffocated.
Yep.
But yeah,
Beautiful.
and don't forget, he was lured. He was lured out of hiding because Netanyahu went to the U.S. and they all said, "Oh, he's not gonna order anything because he's in America." And Netanyahu used something that Hezbollah must not have heard of called a telephone. And yeah, and
The
so
fiends.
he called from the U.S. and he said, "It's green, go."
From the plane, actually.
Oh, from the plane, yeah.
As he went into the plane.
Yeah.
Well, imagine having telephones in the planes. The technology of the Jews is so
Yeah.
surprising.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you happen to be a camel fucker living in the 16th century, the technology of the Jews is surprising. I have no doubt about it. What a bunch of morons. Oh my God, it's 2.5 hours. So let me do my appeal before we forget, and then we'll keep going for a little while because I'm having fun, Thomas, tonight.
Okay.
These degenerates entertain me. People, as you know, the only way we can operate and do things is if you support us. When can I say that? I tried. I tried my best. I try even selling my soul to the devil. I saw if Israel, you know, that all of these morons say it has been paying $7,000 per tweet to its supporters. Can you imagine what amount of money we're talking about here, Thomas?
Wow. I mean, they
$7,000 per tweet to Israel's supporters.
I thought Israel controlled everything. Why do they have to bribe people to send tweets?
Yeah, but incidentally, is there enough money on the planet to cover that bill?
No.
So anyway, 7,000 per tweet, and I couldn't get them to give me $500 for this program. The fence and the support that I give them, and not a fucking dime. So I went to Qatar.
Yeah.
And I said, the fucking Jews don't want to give me any money, even though I defend them all the time. How about you give me some? And they told me, I'm sorry, we gave the last check to Qatar. So I couldn't get anything there. So I went to Iran. I said, the Jews and Qatar are not giving me a dime. Can you give me some? And they said, we don't have any. It burnt in the last attack. Now we can promise you for the afterlife, we'll give you 72 virgins when you die. No, thank you. I don't want them when I leave either. Fuck off. And like that, I bounced from one country to another, and nobody gave me a fucking dime. The U.S. government didn't give me a dime. Obama and Biden gave me headaches and stomach acid. So the only way that we can pay for these programs is if you support us. Because if you don't send us any money, sure as hell nobody else will. So this is free to watch, but it's not free to produce. And the same thing with Social Quadverum. So please, please, please support us if you can. You can now support us in Odyssey. If you manage to work out the system, some people have. You can support us in Uboob. They'll take 45%, but what the hell? It's better than nothing. Or you can support us directly through quadverum.com/support us. We don't take 45% off. The merchant services take about 0.5% or thereabouts, and the rest goes to the work. Quadverum.com/support us. Monthly, it's even better, but a one-time works. You can become a subscriber at the Brother Lie on X. Half a coffee per month. Are we asking for so much? Every 2 months, you give the two of us one fucking cup of coffee. Please, wouldn't you buy us a cup of coffee if we were there? And lastly, you can send a check to P.O. Box 306, Halifax, Virginia 24558. So even if you dislike the electronic shit and all that jazz, you can still do it. Nothing will stop you. So thank you very much. Please support us. Or I may have to go to the Chinese. I haven't asked them yet.
Oh God, can you imagine what they demand in return?
Shorter than my ass? Maybe I can ask Feng Feng to find out. I'll tell you what, next time I'm in Washington, I'm going to see Swalwell and ask him for Feng Feng's number so I can see if I can also get a check like he did. Because he sold out. I'm not buying these. I just fucked her and that was it. So that's it, folks. That's it for the asking for money. I hope it was a little different than the usual speech. And let's go back to these, Thomas. Where the hell were we?
I don't know. Where were we?
Hmm?
Where were we?
Important distinction, says Stephen. Around 95% of Israel's Muslim population are Sunni, think Saudi, or mostly Arab descent. That's not true. That is absolutely not true. The largest group of Muslims in Israel are Bedouins. The second largest are Druze. The Druze are literally what you would call it, Shia. So I doubt very much. And people of Arab descent in that area of the Middle East are few and far between. Most Palestinians, for instance, are not Arab, whether on the Israeli side or on the Gaza or Judea Samaria side. They're Levantines. They're Greeks. They're Mediterranean people. They're Phoenicians. Ever since Alexander conquered that land, there are few people there who came from other places without acquiring a large dose of Greek genes. Just saying. Oh. Oh God. Father Chris Wimber said writing, but I guess I'm going to have to either ask him tomorrow or read it later because I can't do the program and read that at the same time. Oh, what else we have here? Putin. Have you noticed how he's not talking too much lately?
He's not talking very much because he's screwed and he knows it. And the only thing he has going for him is the geldings of Europe who are letting him fly his little drones all over Europe unimpeded. They're terrified of doing anything about
it.
it.
I mean, little. These are not the Shaheeds. These are the type of drone that you can buy here in a hobby shop and use to take pictures of the roof of your house.
Well, they keep having to shut down airports. They shut down one in Germany because of the drones, and they all wonder what to do. What do we do? What do we do? It's like, okay, if you shoot them down, what's Russia going to do? Has Russia ever retaliated? Did they retaliate against us for blowing up the Wagner battalion in Syria?
Erdogan shot down 2 MiGs because they crossed into Turkish airspace.
Yeah.
At the time that Russia had troops, well, Army, Navy, and Air Force deployed in Syria.
Mm-hmm.
What did the Russians do?
Nothing.
Nothing. They ate it. There's nothing they can do.
Yeah. And especially now, okay, goddamn, there's people. We're on World War III watch. What's Russia going to fight it with? What's Russia going to fight it with?
Porsche.
Let's see.
And watch out, because if they get really mean, they're gonna throw ground beef wrapped in cabbage.
Let's see. There's a claim made that Kaliningrad
Yes,
has
Königsberg.
Kaliningrad.
Yep. I insist on calling it Königsberg.
Oh, let's see.
Oh, weaponized babushkas. I like that one, Ayo. Weaponized babushkas. Filled with the tears of Russians.
Well, the claim is that okay, it's the 11th Army Corps, the Baltic Fleet, and air defense and aviation units. Yeah, okay. Nobody's talking about this. It's seen a drastic reduction in troop numbers due to redeployments to the Ukraine conflict.
Exactly. Now take a look at what happened in the north, not in the Baltic, but in the Arctic, where the Russians have their nuclear silos.
Yep.
What happened to the troops that were deployed there to protect the silos?
Oh, they went to Ukraine and died.
They're dead. They were all deployed to Ukraine and eventually died. I think there might be a couple of survivors. So no, they have nothing else to throw at anybody. And yeah, a bomb here, a bomb there. Today they destroyed a train. A train.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what number of casualties, but probably 20, 40 dead.
Mm-hmm.
And by the way, a civilian train,
of course,
something like the Long Island Railroad, a commuter train, with something small flying low. When was the last time there was an incursion by any kind of big plane from Russia in Ukraine?
Also, okay, the Ukrainians have developed interceptor drones, which basically use AI in order to pick out individual drones to hit. So as a result, the Ukrainians are now, you hear, the largest drone and missile attack launched in the war. The Ukrainians are now shooting down about 96% of all Russian drones and missiles that are fired into Ukraine. And they're doing it mostly with drones. So
which they make.
They're making 10,000 a month or 10,000 a week. I can't remember. It's some gigantic
number.
And this means that they're no longer reliant on anti-aircraft ammunition. They need the anti-aircraft ammunition for missiles, but the drones are all taken care of with $5 interceptor drones, and the Russian drones, they cost $30,000 each. So
and I read a Ukrainian general talking about the use of these drones, building drone walls.
Mm-hmm.
That is, when the Russians launch an attack, there's a fucking wall of drones that they have to go through.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how come the Ukrainian success rate is shot up so greatly. Still, every now and then, they're going to hit a train, a school bus.
4% gets through, and the Russians fire weapons only at civilian targets because they're stupid. And the
Ukrainians are degrading the military capabilities of the Russians every hour.
Yeah. No, one of the reasons the Ukrainians built that, I think is it called the Mirage, that cruise missile,
Flamingo.
Flamingo. Okay. One of the reasons they built that was because they knew it was only a matter of time before Russia built its own interceptor drones. And so an interceptor drone can't hit the Flamingo.
No, and the Flamingo can hit the factory of the interceptor drones before they even make them.
Yeah. No, I read a great analysis of the Russo-Ukraine war. The Russians always catch up to Ukrainian innovations, but the time between catching up is getting wider and wider and wider and wider. And at some point, the Russians will no longer be able to catch up with the Ukrainians, and the Ukrainians will continue innovating. The Ukrainians now have fully robotic assault vehicles that are used for assaults, and then the infantry goes in and simply mops up.
Yep. But we mentioned this at the beginning of the war. We mentioned it again like a year ago. People forget that in the distribution of production among the socialist countries, Ukraine was the producer of weapons.
Mm-hmm.
The ships were built on the Dnieper. The planes were built near Kiev. And some asshole is going to come and say, it's not Kiev, it's Kiev. I don't give a shit. I'm speaking English, not Ukrainian. And the capacity, the engineering, the schools, the people trained in this labor are in Ukraine, not in Russia. Ukraine has 10 times the military industrial capability of Russia.
Mm-hmm.
And that was the Russians' own fucking problem. They designed it this way when they could.
Mm-hmm.
Now they have to eat it. Now, Ukraine doesn't make large trucks. Neither does Russia. That's Czechoslovakia. Now, the Czech Republic. Tough. The only country that never did anything was Eastern Germany, because they decidedly, in the distribution of labor, they got to be the shithole. Motorcycle. Well, there's a cut message that was going to this. By the way, have you noticed the chat? We had such wonderful people in the chat. Now they're blessing each other.
Mm-hmm.
One leaves, bless you too. No, bless you. I want to be the first one to bless you. No, please. And you know, such wonderful, kind folks we have here. Much better than the horde of barbarians that I have to deal with in X.
Well, also, okay, Blue Sky. Everybody on Blue Sky spends most of their time fighting with each other and reporting each other for not being leftist enough. And the people running Blue Sky have they keep having to put out messages saying, attention, disagreement is not a basis for banning someone.
I had to do that the first 2 years of Quod Verum too, remember?
Mm-hmm.
You don't like what he says, you don't like his appeal, fucking block him and don't bug me. But this week I had to close one account rather block one account in Quod Verum, the first one in a year. It was not a Quod Verum account. It's some kind of shitty 16 people instances. Thomas, these are like cartoon Nazis.
Who? ICE?
The account I blocked. The account I blocked. I'm trying to remember. Hold on. Let me give you the instance. Because I was surprised. It's the first account I had to block in a long time. And it wasn't one of ours. and it wasn't one of ours. And when I took a look inside to see what it was, it resulted in there we are. Oh, no wonder. Folk.network.
VOLK.
VOLK network. It by the way, all 16 accounts in that network can no longer be seen by us, and they cannot see ours. Folk network.
Why are people so in love with one of the most defeated nations in human history?
Severe retardation.
No, I mean the war was lost the minute Hitler started it. Like Rommel said in both world wars, Rommel was a war hero in World War I. He was a member of the Alpine troops, and he and like 20 other guys single-handedly captured 800 Italian prisoners. But he said in World War I that he was utterly stunned at how quickly the United States had troops on the battlefield. It was less than a year. And we did have to, initially we had to use British rifles, French rifles, helmets, gas masks. But by the end of the war, we were manufacturing them ourselves. So in a matter of months, we started manufacturing things that we'd never seen before: steel helmets, gas masks. And so before Hitler declared war on the United States on December 11th, 1941, Rommel told him, we can't beat the Americans. They have an industrial capacity that we can't even comprehend.
Yep.
Hitler said, what do you know? And you were a captain and I was a corporal, so fuck you. And
incidentally, to this day, Europeans cannot fathom the industrial capabilities of America.
No.
They truly think, oh, well, America's never going to catch up. Oh, well, no, if they go into a war, they won't be able to produce these or what. They have no idea what the fuck they're talking about.
We have multiple weapons. The first was the thermobaric bomb. There was a former Vietnamese boat person. She designed that thing, and it was tested and put into mass production in a month. Europeans couldn't do that because they would have to spend a year talking about it.
Or two.
Okay, the Europeans...
And then another 4 years deciding where it's made.
Yeah.
And then finally arrive at a conclusion that it needs to be built in 5 separate countries and assembled in a 6th.
Well, this is the thing, that this is one of the reasons that they had so much trouble providing weapons for Ukraine, was because, they had to have meetings, and in the meetings, the French would go up against the Germans, and it was just like, it was Franco-Prussian War stuff, and whatever. No, we've always done this in every war. In World War II, we started the war with utterly obsolete equipment, except for aircraft carriers, the P-38 Lightning, and
we had the rifles from World War I.
Yeah, bolt action rifles.
Bolt action rifles. I mean, this is like going against tanks with the cavalry.
Yep. And by the end of the war, we had so many different fighters in the Pacific that were just making mincemeat out of the Japanese. The Japanese, and even before the war started, there was a naval lieutenant named Thatch, and Thatch flew an airplane called the F-4F Wildcat, and it was totally obsolete, and he knew it, and he knew a war with Japan was coming. So he invented this maneuver that would allow these obsolete planes to shoot down the advanced Japanese Zeros. That a pilot and his wingman would fly side by side, and when the Japanese got behind one of them, they would fly forward and cross each other, and then they would cross back, and the chasing Japanese would automatically fall under the guns of the person behind, and they would shoot it down. It always worked. And the one thing we had, even though the Wildcat was obsolete, it was well armored and it had self-sealing fuel tanks. And the Japanese never had armor on their planes, and they never had self-sealing fuel tanks. So one burst, and it becomes a fireball. Our planes could take a shitload of punishment and come back because we.
And how about picking up a nice but not quite there British plane?
Mhm.
And George Batchelor, the founder of Arrow, was the guy who redesigned it in California.
Mhm.
And I'm sorry, he was working in Hawaii at the time. They were doing this in Hawaii, and put a far more powerful engine, and it became the dominant plane in the Pacific.
Mhm.
And that whole concept was created in 2 months.
Mhm.
From nothing to having the unbeatable plane.
Well, we had a guy. Geez, I can't remember the name of the aircraft company. They had a place called the Skunk Works, where ideas came out. The guy running the company was named Kelly Johnson, and Kelly Johnson was this genius who he never flew. He wasn't a pilot, and he would just look at a design and say, "Okay, do this, 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 and this." They created the SR-71 Blackbird, which flew throughout the 1950s and 60s, and that's still the fastest plane ever built.
Yeah, that was Lockheed Martin.
Lockheed Martin, yeah. And you know, there were no. Okay, Anthony Fokker was like that in Germany in World War I, but he was a Dutchman. And in World War II, the Nazis came up with like the stupidest you've ever seen in your lives. Like just crazy ass stuff that Hitler said, yes, this is what I want. And then they would try and build it. And of course they couldn't. They had the first rocket powered plane. It had a 7-minute endurance, and it used fuel. The fuel tanks were on either side. It was a mixture of two combustible fluids that, when they were mixed together, created the rocket blast. And if the tanks leaked, the pilot would get liquefied because the fuel was so corrosive. Yeah. So it had a gun, it had a cannon that had such a slow rate of fire that the bombers could fly between the rounds. It would go bum, bum, bum. And the one round would come and the plane would fly through it, and then the round would follow it. This was all German innovation. They innovated stuff that it's the first rocket-powered aircraft. Yeah, and it's a piece of shit. It's got you can only fly it for 7 minutes.
It's a death trap.
It's a death trap. So I don't know. They always underestimate us. You still hear Europeans say that Trump's an idiot. It's like, well, if he's an idiot and he's mopping the earth with you guys, what does that make you?
It's always the thing that makes me laugh. No, these guys are not idiots. You see, to be a president in Spain, well, what you need is the support of 10 terrorists. Literally. In the US, it's not so easy.
Mm-hmm.
In the European systems of government, a little horse trading will make you prime minister.
Mm-hmm.
In the US, it's not so easy. I don't think any of the European leaders today would be successful in the campaign in the US style.
Well, remember when before Trump's first term, there were 17 Republicans running,
Mm-hmm.
and he took them all down.
And as many Democrats.
Mhm.
But there you go. They again, the same way they cannot comprehend the incredible industrial prowess of the US. They have no inkling of the incredible stamina and intelligence needed to win a US political campaign at the national level. I would make an exemption with Biden because I don't think he won.
No, I don't think he won, and he didn't campaign. He hid in a basement, and it was only when he did the first debate with Trump that people went, "Oh my God, he's demented." So all the times he paused and crapped in his pants, they didn't see. My brother, before Biden was elected, my brother called Tim in Las Vegas, and they had a political debate. Tim said, "But he's demented. He's demented." And my brother said, "I don't believe that." My brother in New York, my communist brother, he's a very intelligent guy, but he said he believed that Biden was not cognitively impaired. How could you not believe that? I mean,
remember when I used to tell people, I don't know if he's cognitively impaired or not. Like, he's been like this since the 80s.
mm-hmm.
Ever since that surgery to resolve the aneurysm and, brain's allergic to blood, and he had quite a bit of it. He was an asshole before the operation when he had to suspend the campaign in '88 because he was plagiarizing Neil Kinnock and John Kennedy. And then he had the operation and he came back and he was a retarded asshole. And then he got old.
Mm-hmm.
And he became a senile, retarded asshole. But he was the same retarded asshole for decades. Remember when Obama used to joke and say that he called him Uncle Joe because we all have an uncle who says stupid things at dinner? They had to cover up his inability to think straight when he was running for vice president in 2008.
Mm-hmm.
How can there be anybody in the country who didn't know this?
I don't know. My father's family, let's see, he had a cousin who was born retarded, not Down syndrome or anything, just some strange retardation. The whole family denied it.
It wasn't Greta Thunberg.
No. And when his mother died, he inherited her estate. And so now he could do whatever he wanted because he had the money to. So he ate cake every day. He got diabetic and he gave away money. So he was surrounded by vultures. And my mother went there with my father to settle up something. And she ended up being having to stay in this house with him. And he wanted to do something. And she said no. And so he was this huge guy and he was threatening her and his legs had begun separating clear fluid from the edema. And the whole family denied that he had any problems whatsoever. And he was living on a diet of cake and cake and ice cream. And, you know, he died young. He was only in his early 60s. But the whole family, they always said nothing's wrong with him. And he was clearly mentally impaired. But, you know, that was not something that was going to be accepted by anybody in that family. So.
No, there we go. Kelly here says, Kelly is a little older than we are, and she's been in the air, she knows this asshole. Biden has always been a gap-o-matic bimbo, as long as I remember when I was very young.
Mm-hmm.
She's, you know, I remember when he came to Congress as a congressman, he was like an early version of Anthony Weiner.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it was unbearable.
Mm-hmm.
And that's before the aneurysm.
He was
By the way,
he was always insufferable.
do we know it was an aneurysm? You know, I never saw the medical report. Paulson says they say Trump is a dictator, but then they say he always chickens out. Pick
Yeah,
one.
make that make sense.
Yeah, impossible. Anyway, we've been going at it for 3 hours and 10 minutes, and I already given my speech. Just a reminding folks. Hold on. Send Mula, because nobody will pay us. And that's it for me. Do you think there is any kind of degeneracy we forgot to mention today?
I think we covered all bases.
We did cover the smelly flotilla too, but I cannot understand the immense cruelty of the Israeli government to force these assholes to take a bath.
Well, she always looks extra retarded when she's been captured by the Israelis. She has like this goony smile, and you know,
Yeah.
who knows? I just
I've been
as long as she's out of
been abducted and I'm being mistreated.
Yeah.
You know, I'm sorry, but we've all seen women being taken hostage by Hamas. One that hounds me is the woman with her Achilles tendon cut and blood oozing out of her tuches. Obviously, she had already been raped. We've seen women raped. We've seen their corpses paraded while ululating monkeys beat them with sticks and 2x4s. We've seen some of the most horrendous scenes imaginable. And this obstreperous bitch is saying that she's being tortured because she didn't like the sandwich.
Well, leftists always destroy the meanings of words. So, you know, abduction, torture, they apply these words to things that they're obviously not, and then eventually the whole concept loses its meaning. Like the word racist. You call somebody a racist now and they shrug it off. They don't care. Everything's racist. The water's racist. The air is racist. You know, they're starting up the terrible plight of Black Americans again, and nobody cares. Like, it's not going to go anywhere. Especially now that the term Black fatigue is in vogue, and Twitter is showing videos of people acting like savages. Nobody cares. Nobody cares about the black oppression. Nobody cares that illegal alien in Iowa. Initially, the school board stood by him, and then they discovered he had a massive criminal record, so they fired him, and they were all sad.
Going back 20 years,
Mm.
The school board ought to be fired en masse. The
Oh,
fact
yeah.
that they
No.
actually hired this piece of shit. It's
They're
unforgivable.
blaming a third party that they claim was responsible for doing the vetting.
It's I don't know. It's really. And by the way, how many of those do we have? How many?
Impossible to say.
And not even
Impossible to
superintendents.
say.
How many teachers that would resemble this son of a bitch? I bet you it's in the thousands across the country. And don't count on.
Well, I
the
know
teachers
that in
union.
one of the New England states,
Hmm?
in one of the New England states, they arrested and deported an illegal alien who was I think he was a state trooper. So
Yeah.
didn't do a good vetting job there.
No, they didn't do a good betting job in the army when they got Camilo Ernesto Mejia in. You know, it's. But anyway, we I hope that we are correcting this now. And having made fun of Greta yet again, that's it. That's it. I have more stuff to talk about the the collection of imbeciles, in particularly the LGBT flotilla denizens. There's a lot of lesbians, gays, and trans. Why the fuck didn't Israel just let him land in Gaza? They wouldn't. You know, you save a lot of money not having to feed and bathe these idiots. Anyway, done for today. I'll see you guys tomorrow at What Meat. I hope that John and Father Chris will be there, but I never know who's going to be there, and it's going to be open mic again. So just pay attention in SQV, and you'll know how to get there. For those watching on Twitter or YouTube, you have to be on SQV to have some privileges. And with that, thank you so much. And Thomas, do you have a word for today?
Incunabulum.
Incunabulum. I love this one, you son of a gun. Thank you, because I didn't know the word, but it has a Latin root from here to Rome. So I know what it means, and I'm proud of myself. Incunabulum. And thank you, guys. Everybody, have a good night.